Fellas, what's going on? This is the Stokastic.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by No House Advantage. Got a 9 game trade deadline slate tonight, so it should be an exciting one. We got the perfect guy to help us break it down. Adam, should my money share? Adam, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty well. Looking forward to this show. We haven't done one in a while, so nice to get you back. Football season ends, and now I get to do shows with Lofty again, and now doing shows with you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's like our old Wednesday night crew. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's good to be back on here. Honestly, I might need you to catch me up on some of the action here because I've been doing more NBA betting. But last night, like just a crazy night in the NBA with LeBron setting the scoring record. Cam Thomas going out for another 40-point game. Are people going to be a little hungover from the excitement of last night to play a slate where these games probably won't mean a whole lot?
Well, there's no doubt in my mind LeBron is hungover, but he's not on the slate, so don't have to worry about that one. But yeah, I mean, this game's or this slate should be pretty wild. We had obviously some exciting stuff happen yesterday, but today you have a lot of questionable players that we're gonna have to deal with. You also have players that were not questionable that are now being linked to trades that I assume makes them questionable now. So there's a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah, definitely. I was seeing yesterday like a lot of updates to the starting lineups and stuff. Is that what you're expecting tonight?
Yeah, especially because I mean, again, there's just multiple questionable guys on like most teams. Early in the night, you have Garland and Mitchell questionable for the Cavs, Beal and Kuzma for Washington. Don't care too much about those because they're at 7. But then like you have Horford and Williams for Boston and Embiid for Philly on the other side of that game. You have Keldon Johnson still questionable for San Antonio. You have the expected questionable guys from Minnesota, Gobert, Anderson, and McLaughlin. But now you also have D'Angelo Russell supposedly on his way to the Lakers. I don't know if he's playing. I haven't seen an update on that. On the other side of that game, you have Vanderbilt and Beasley potentially being traded. You have questionable guys later on as well. So just a really really. I would not play tonight if you're not planning on being around the late swap. That goes for every NBA slate, but especially tonight, I don't think you're going to be able to avoid it.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, at least to make sure all your players are playing. But
Yeah.
like, is this a slate where you want to save some space to capitalize on some later slate players that might emerge?
So fortunately, I think the last game of the slate is one of the easiest to get to and will be one of the most popular. I don't anticipate really saving spots because for one, I think naturally I'll kind of get that because of the Golden State Portland game, but then also you have a very shorthanded Miami team against Indiana at 7:30. I don't think it's likely that enough stuff opens up later that I would want to be foregoing what looks like very very good Miami value. The only real counter argument I guess you could make is like if all of D'Angelo Russell, Kyle Anderson, and Rudy Gobert get ruled out from Minnesota, they kind of turn into a Miami light, but they still would have more bodies available and could just do weirder stuff. So it's going to be tough for me not to get to Miami just given their circumstances. But you will end up with some open spots just because of how appealing that Golden State Portland game is.
Nice. Before we get going here, you guys know what week it is. It's the week of the Waste Management Phoenix Open, and we have a new YouTube channel to celebrate, the Odd Shopper Golf channel. So if you want to get some PGA bets, make sure to search Odd Shopper Golf on YouTube and subscribe. Get the latest from Ben, Eric, and Aton. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Former ISU caddy Eric Lindquist. So make sure to check out Odd Chopper Golf here. All right, let's get into the first game. We got Charlotte at Washington. Now on the Charlotte side, I don't see any questionable players. Pretty much the same injury statuses we've been seeing recently. And as a result, I mean, it looks like there's some good plays, but no one's really jumping off the board. What are you seeing with the Hornets?
Yeah, that's how I see it as well. Again, you're just the more shorthanded teams that you have on a slate, or even the more questionable players you have, the less likely it is that fully healthy teams end up being priorities. And that's the case here for Charlotte. Mason Plumlee's pulling 19% ownership. We have him with an 11% chance of being optimal at 6,600. He should give you 30 to 31 minutes. He's a good center option. There are a lot of good centers today. A lot of them are in his price range. Some are more expensive. So, I do think he's going a little bit over owned as the boom bust tool reflects, but certainly a good play if you get there. You can just be different elsewhere. LaMelo at 10-1 gives you a very nice ceiling. But also pretty much correctly priced. I think getting to either of those guys makes sense. I'm going to have a difficult time getting to anything else, though, whether that's Rozier, Hayward, Washington. Just difficult, really, to want any of those guys.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, plus you're kind of setting yourself up to lock in spots with players that might not be that good. So it's kind of a double whammy. So someone like PJ Washington, like positive leverage on the tools, but maybe not the most exciting because he's an early game player. But yeah, it looks like Mason Plumlee is pretty good value. While it was an interesting spend up option, but not a ton here. On the Washington side, we got let's see, lots of questionable players. Monty Morris, Bradley Beal, and Kyle Kuzma are questionable. Beal has missed the last 2 games, so that one's kind of priced in. Well, Kyle Kuzma missed the last game. Do you have any read on the status of these guys?
No, I mean, they both seem truly questionable to me. If Beal comes back, he's at a reasonable price tag, but I would also be a little bit cautious with his minutes. Prior to this most recent injury, we had seen him kind of just living in the 30 to 32 minute range because he hasn't been able to stay healthy for more than a brief stretch of games at a time. So they haven't been going crazy with his minutes. I assume that'll be the case if he does return here. So it'll make it tough to really want to get to him, even though it is a decent price and a good matchup against Charlotte. Similarly with Kuzma, you have a relatively high price tag on him, given that Porzingis is in. If Beal were also in, that's going to make Kuzma look mediocre. If you rule Beal out and Kuzma in, he looks a little bit better. If both guys end up being out, Porzingis certainly looks good. It's a good matchup. He should play 33, 34 minutes. He's like a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy, but he's also priced up to 9,600 because Beal has been out so much. So I wouldn't say any of those guys end up being priorities. I think it's just that they all look at least average. And, if you start ruling guys out, then the remaining guys end up looking a little bit better.
Makes sense. Now, do you expect the Wizards to make any moves at the deadline? Currently, they're in 12th.
They'll probably. I don't even know what they have available. I assume they'll do something. I doubt they do anything too big because I don't really think that they can. I don't think they have pieces to bring back legitimate players. I don't think they're moving, Kuzma or Porzingis. So I assume it's just going to be random, rotational stuff.
Cool. Yeah, that's reassuring. So, guys, we're going all the way up to lock here. So, if any of these players get ruled out, we'll make sure to circle back and talk about some Wizards here. But
one thing I forgot, Monte Morris is also questionable. He was added earlier this afternoon, so that's another one where you could get minutes opening up for some combination of Kendrick Nunn or Jordan Goodwin. We got 15 minutes from Nunn last game with Beal out. Goodwin came off the bench early, but he still only played 4 minutes outside of garbage time. DeLon Wright would end up looking like a decent value if Morris is out at 4,400 as well. So definitely keep an eye on all of that stuff. 5,400 Daniel Gafford at 5%, I think actually is a good tournament play here. He's not on the injury report. He got banged up last game, but he's not on the injury report. It's a really good matchup. It's a good price tag. I like the lack of ownership coming into him.
That makes sense. Next game, we got Detroit versus Cleveland. On the Detroit side, no questionable players. They're in a spot where they could make some moves, but I haven't really heard much. Bojan Bogdanovic is someone who's been mentioned in trade rumors, but they've also kind of said he's part of the team's future. So I'm a little confused about why that is, but do you see anything interesting on the Pistons?
No, it's a really brutal matchup too. You do have some falling price tags on DraftKings, which is nice from a tournament standpoint. In general, it's nice to attack guys where they're not getting a lot of ownership and the salaries are falling, because it creates a situation where, if you're just going to look at this and say oh, it's a brutal spot against Cleveland, they're 11-point dogs on the road. Cleveland's a slow team that's good defensively. You also, you're kind of shortchanging yourself because you're ignoring that Jaden Ivey's price tag dropped 10%, Jalen Duren's price tag dropped 10%. So there is certainly built-in upside there, but it is still a really tough matchup. This is also an early game. So, like you were saying before, you're locking yourself into fine, but not great plays. I think Ivy, Durr, and Stewart would be where I get to if I get to anything here, but it still just strikes me as stuff where I'm not prioritizing any of it because the matchup's so difficult and because there's just going to be plays that open up later on.
Agreed. On the Cleveland side, things could get more interesting because Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are both questionable. If they are both out, that is surely going to create a lot of value. So, right now with both of them like projected in, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen look like good, not amazing plays. But what do you think could happen with the Cavs tonight?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways this could go. If everybody is in, you kind of just get the main four guys looking good, but like you said, good but not great. Like you're gonna have a lot of lineups that have a guy from Cleveland if everyone's in. But Mitchell, Mobley, Allen, Garland, all relative to salary and positions, look pretty similar. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are pulling the most ownership on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you do have Jared Allen with power forward eligibility, which makes him a little bit easier to get to. He's pulling similar ownership there as on DraftKings for $500 more. But they're just all going to be good plays. But where it gets interesting is that if Garland is out and Mitchell is in, Mitchell certainly looks better, and vice versa. Garland looks a lot better if Mitchell is out. If they're both out, you get Karis LeVert at 4,800 looking like a clear top value option. You get more minutes most likely for Ricky Rubio. You get an increased offensive role for Evan Mobley as well. So there's a lot of different ways that this can break for Cleveland. No matter what, there's going to be good plays here. It's just a matter of, it's everybody in and you're kind of just grabbing one of those main four guys and moving on. Or are you, as you rule guys out, you start getting, bigger and bigger priorities.
Agreed. Yeah. So right now they're looking at good plays, but if Garland and or Mitchell get ruled out, that will be a good incentive to go to all the other guys, basically. So Karis LeVert, as you mentioned, he could become a key piece tonight if some of the news breaks a certain way. So that's definitely something to be keeping an eye on. What are you thinking with the Cavs at the deadline? It seems like, do you think they're going to try to trade Kevin Love because they took him out of the rotation? Does he even have any trade value right now?
It seems that way. I don't know though. Like I don't pay a ton of attention to trade stuff because I don't know where any teams are in the standings. Josh knows all of it. But yeah, I don't know outside of stuff that's been rumored and I happen to see, I don't really pay attention to what teams might be doing.
That is fair. I mean, the Cavs are having a good year. They're 11-point favorites tonight. 34-22 is their record. So they're up there with the top teams. So pretty impressive. Donovan Mitchell definitely making a difference there. So you could see some moves here. All right, before the next game, I want to mention we got a killer deal going on. But first, if you know anyone that has a gambling problem, make sure to call or text 1-800-GAMBLER, and the legal age for gambling in most states is 21 or over. So we have a special deal right now with BetMGM, where if you sign up through our link, you get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum and a free $1,000 risk-free bet. So all you have to do is click the link below or use the promo code Platinum Sub. And the way it works, you bet $1,000. If you win the bet, you get the winnings from the bet. If you lose the bet, you get $1,000 in free bets. So you can bet on whatever you want. And just make sure to get it all in on that first bet to maximize value. We've done the math on these, and they're worth $600 or $700 on $1,000 risk-free bets. So that is definitely amazing value, and you get the $120 free from Stokastic Plus Platinum. So really, if you haven't already signed up, this is a pretty killer incentive. And also make sure to check out our Bet Pro package to give you some bets for MGM. We've been crushing it out there. All right. Next game, we got Philadelphia, 4-point favorite at Boston. A 4-point underdog. Joel Embiid is questionable. Seems like he's questionable almost every game these days.
Yeah, he's the early game LeBron.
Definitely. So what do you do these days? You just assume he's going to be in and then late swap, or how do you handle it?
Yeah, I assume he's going to be in just because he's almost always in, and also because Doc Rivers sucks at just telling you he's going to be in. So you kind of just get used to at about, this game's at 7:30, so 6 or 6:30, Doc Rivers is going to be asked if Joel Embiid's playing, and he's going to say something like he's going to warm up. And then at 6:30, he's going to say Embiid is starting or Embiid is out. Or at 7, I guess, if it's a 7:30 game. So, it sucks this game isn't at 7. That is obviously huge news, but I just at this point assume he's going to be in. The one thing that made me actually the most uncomfortable is that partway through the day, we got Horford and Williams both downgraded, and it just kind of felt like, wait, are the Celtics just going to randomly rest their centers and the Sixers are going to rest theirs? But I don't know. I'm not reading into that. I assume Embiid's playing just because he plays like 90% of the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, if everyone's in here, what are you thinking with the 76ers?
Not a lot if Embiid's in. If he's out, then obviously James Harden becomes a priority. Tobias Harris is only 5,600 on DraftKings, which is a really cheap price if Embiid is out, and still just like a neutral price if Embiid is in. But assuming Embiid's in, Embiid obviously is going to be good, but he's the most expensive player on the slate. He's center only, where you do have a lot of opportunity costs today, whether that is talking about guys in that 5 to 6K range that just have really high ceilings, or whether it's talking about the Domantas Sabonis, Alperen Şengün, Bam Adebayo. You have so many good centers today that it's tough to prioritize jamming in Embiid at that price tag and position. But if he's in, it's also tough to get to 9,800 for James Harden. He's going to look similar to somebody like LaMelo, who is $300 more expensive. I do prefer LaMelo. It's a better matchup. Harden's minutes have been down a little bit recently as well. Last game, he played normal minutes, but overall over his last 10, only averaging about 34 minutes per game. You're not getting him locked into those 38 minutes every single night like you were for a while. Those games are still there though. But if Embiid is in, I don't think there's any true priorities. Like right now, we have Tobias Harris on DraftKings pulling the most ownership at 9%. On FanDuel, James Harden's pulling the most at 4%. So kind of just speaks to, nothing really standing out. The only reason Harris is getting ownership right now, I think, is because like when you build a lineup, even if you're using an optimizer, if you think of it in terms of the way that you would hand build a lineup, a lot of times you're probably just ending up where you have like $5,600 at Ford. And it's just like, okay, Tobias Harris is the best option here. But also, as soon as you start getting guys rolled out and you're getting more value, whether it's at Ford or somewhere else, Tobias Harris is just going to become not very appealing at all.
Right. So that's always a tough part with these early game players like Tobias Harris. He is looking like a good play in the tools. 9.2% ownership, 10.5% optimal. So on today's slate, pretty solid numbers. But it's just like by the time like all the injury statuses come through, like the chance that he's going to be one of the better plays is pretty low. So if Embiid is out, that'll definitely help. If Embiid does miss this game, would you make any swaps?
Depends what they do. If he misses this game, Harris and Harden look better. And if we, got that news after lock, I would want to swap those guys in. But also from a starting lineup standpoint, if you get Montrezl Harrell starting at 4,500, he's decent. He would just be added to the list of at least relatively interesting centers. But if they move like Tyrese Maxey into the starting lineup at 5,500, there would be a good chance that he's playing big minutes. And he'd look like a good value as well.
Definitely. Now on the Boston side, I've been seeing a lot of chatter on Boston where Peyton Pritchard isn't happy. He wants a bigger role on a different team. Grant Williams said basically the same thing, that he wants to start and be more of a key player. So those kind of interesting, man. It seems like a lot of random NBA players are just like speaking up way more about wanting to have a different role than normal. Have you made anything of that?
I hadn't seen it, but that's weird, especially the Grant Williams part, because like he's actually a good, especially playoff like piece that they need. Normally guys like that kind of just enjoy being on one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league, and shut up and play behind Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. But so that one's interesting. Pritchard, I mean, whatever. Like I'm sure he would like to be in a spot where he gets to play. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. From a DFS standpoint, that certainly doesn't change anything.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it may be just rumors, so don't take anything I said with a huge amount of faith. But okay, now the other huge rumor is Jaylen Brown for KD is something that's been discussed. I think it was said by Stephen A. Smith, and it's like, does Stephen A. Smith have inside knowledge of the NBA? I'm pretty skeptical of this whole idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't given it any thought, but Yeah, it would be weird.
I know Boston's really want to get KD though, so maybe you could see some sort of deal. Okay, but on tonight's injury report, Al Horford and Robert Williams are the questionable players, so we could be seeing potential for a lot of center and power forward minutes. So someone like Grant Williams definitely could play big minutes. Who else are you looking at?
Yeah, Williams would be certainly a candidate to slide into the starting lineup if one of those guys misses. If they both miss, I would assume that it's almost guaranteed that he plays. If it's one of them, like maybe you get a random Hauser start again. He played 31 minutes last game. Williams only played 20, which was weird, but it was also a game against the Pistons. Who cares? If you do get a start from Grant Williams, he is 3,200. He's just going to look like a good value. If he's in the starting lineup, it's likely he's playing big minutes. If he's coming off the bench with somebody like Hauser ahead of him, that certainly makes things a lot riskier. I'd still be, if one of Horford or Robert Williams is out, I'd still be interested in, maybe taking some shots on a 3,200 out of Grant Williams if he's coming off the bench, but certainly wouldn't be nearly as confident as I am if he's starting. If those guys are in, I don't think this is a very appealing team at all. Jaylen Brown, shooting guard, small forward at 8,700 is fine, but not any sort of a priority. Robert Williams at 6,100 should play 28 to 30 minutes. He's a high upside guy, but again, there's a lot of those. I think you can use him to differentiate your tournament lineups because he's pulling like less than 1% ownership right now, but clearly not a priority. Nothing really from this game. If the questionable players play, I think this is one of the two least appealing games on the slate.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, that's true with a lot of these teams so far, is there's not a ton unless some news breaks. This is really the night that a ton of news could potentially break.
Yeah.
Not like, I mean, pretty much every night in the NBA, but especially tonight. So
yeah. This game and the Mavs Clippers games are the ones where, like, across the board, if you just assume every questionable player plays, I would have the most difficult time finding guys that I really want to get to.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this one, keep an eye out for Al Horford and Robert Williams injury stats because that's a lot of minutes. Besides that, not a ton here as of now. Okay, Indianapolis at Miami. So Indiana, Chris Duarte is questionable, but doesn't seem very significant. But besides that, looks like everyone is in. So I'm not seeing a ton here. I mean, this has been trend so far, so there's not a ton of interesting plays, but are you seeing any diamonds in the rough here
From
Indiana?
From Indiana. No, this game is appealing, but Indiana is not the side of it that's appealing. You just have elevated price tags here. Halliburton 9,500, Turner 7,800, Hield 66. You are playing a shorthanded Miami team, but it's not even like you're really playing Miami's backups. It's more so they're shorthanded because so many of their backups are out. They still have Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Caleb Martin. This should still be a solid defensive team, not a very appealing matchup for the Indiana guys. And then you don't have any price tags that really stick out either. Aaron Nesmith's up to 4,300 now as well. He's been a really popular play recently who has really been rewarding people with some random shooting games, but it's really difficult for me to get to much of anything from Indiana.
Yeah, Nesmith, it seems like the price has caught up with the production a little bit because pretty much 5x value tonight, so nothing exciting. Okay, on the Miami side, I know you mentioned a couple times that this is really one of the teams tonight to be looking at. So Kyle Lowry is out, Duncan Robinson and Oladipo are out. Besides that, it looks like most of the guys are in. So a lot of guard minutes that need to be filled here. What are you thinking as far as the DFS plays?
Yeah, so you have 11 active bodies for Miami, but one of those active bodies is Udonis Haslem, and one is, I forgotten his name like 5 times today. Somebody that I don't expect to play. They just added him to the roster yesterday. They did call up Jamal Cain from the G League, so he gives them an 11th guy and possibly a 9th guy in the rotation. I think it's likely you get like you're getting, I think, either 8 or 9 guys here. I'd be surprised if they go to 10, but you should get a ton of playing time from Bam, from Hero, from Butler. They're all reasonably priced. Bam on DraftKings is center only, so the opportunity cost does play a little bit bigger role there than on FanDuel where he has power forward eligibility and he's $200 less. He's just going to be easier to get to on FanDuel, but he's still a good play on DraftKings as well. He's pulling 16% ownership instead of 27 because of the center position. But Tyler Hero at 7,500, likely to give you 37, 38 minutes at 7,500. Butler's likely to give you mid to upper 30s at 8,100. Those guys all look good. Then you just get some useful value pieces because Gabe Vincent at 4,300 should play a bunch of minutes. He's pulling 30% ownership. Max Strus at 3,900, shooting guard, small forward, is likely to give you probably around 30 minutes or so. That's just a pretty cheap price tag for him. Hayward Highsmith is pulling 18% ownership at 3,300. That made a lot more sense to me earlier in the day. I'm a little concerned now because of Jamal Cain. That's the spot where I think you do run the risk most of getting a rotation that isn't exactly what you wanted, because Highsmith isn't a good point per minute guy by any stretch. So if he's not somebody that if he loses minutes, it's not like you're very likely to just get lucky and he makes them up because, he's a good fantasy producer and just ends up having a good game. Like, you need all of those minutes from Highsmith. So if he's getting ownership, that spot does concern me, but you could certainly see that change between, now and lock as well. But as far as, Butler, Hero, Adebayo, Vincent, Strus, I'm relatively confident in all of their playing time. Caleb Martin should play good minutes as well. The reason that he kind of just is an afterthought, though, is that, he's 4,800. So he's $900 more than Strus. He's 500 more than Vincent. Obviously, from a projection standpoint, he's not in the same ballpark as Butler, Hero, Bam. But he is like the most obvious way to be contrarian with Miami. If you're looking to, within a tournament lineup, say, all right, well, I definitely want to get to Miami here. They're playing Indiana. It's a great spot. They're shorthanded. There's a lot of minutes available. Everybody here is popular except Caleb Martin's 0.4% ownership. You can slightly overpay to be contrarian here. It's not like it's a wild overpay. He probably should just be like 4,400 or 45 instead of 48.
That makes sense. I got a question from Joel in chat here. He says, what's the DFS script for tonight? We're going to tell you the winning lineup on stream. We just need to get this live count up. So guys, please hit that thumbs up button. Yeah, I see what you were talking about with like Haywood Highsmith and other guys. Like they're not short on bodies. They got the bodies. So it's not like they have to play people more like a ton of minutes. But that being said, there's not a lot of depth. So like there's not a lot of pressure from guys like outplaying them. So I guess the thing is, I'm not seeing anyone that you can really like take to the bank today. There are like some good plays, but not great ones. When it comes to like Tyler Hero and Butler and Vincent, I mean those are the top plays from the team, as well as Bam. But would you set any rules to limit how many Miami players you get in the same team?
I'm not going to be too strict with it. I expect that I won't get more than 3 in most lineups just because there's going to be a lot of other good plays. The other issue you run into, and another reason I wouldn't expect to get more than 3 very often, is just that it's not the same. So like we had the Miami situation earlier this year where they had 8 or 9 guys, but they were missing like Butler and Bam. So you were talking about 8 or 9 guys that were really, really cheap. Whereas now 3 of the guys that are playing are still, legitimate price tags, where if you have Hero, Butler, and Bam together, they can all go off at the same time, but it's relatively unlikely that all 3 of them do. And you're also allocating a lot of salary to do that. So it's just not going to happen all that often. So it kind of depends who the guys are too. Like there's no reason that I couldn't play Butler, Hero, Vincent, Strus, but like that's easier to get to than Adebayo, Butler, Hero, Martin or something, so it kind of depends who the guys are.
That makes sense. Now we got a super chat from My Filler Arc. Thank you for the super chat. He says, risking it today with Zach Collins and Mark Williams on DK. I need better cheap centers than these two. So like, do you have any cheap center plays? I guess I'm kind of thinking that this is a good one to just not bank on any particular center and then just readjust. But Drew Eubanks seems like a good option with Portland. So with Nurkic out, who's your favorite cheap center?
Yeah, I mean, I think Eubanks is my preferred. I would say I think the cheap center options are basically Eubanks, Collins, Williams. This doesn't strike me as the slate that I really want to be doing that a lot, though, because it's very likely that you're going to get news that just gives you plenty of value. And the center position is also loaded. Like, I don't think this is a slate where if you play a $3,300 Mark Williams and he goes and gets like 22 DraftKings points at center, it's good point per dollar, but it's very likely, especially in your larger field tournaments, that you're just going to be looking up to the top of the leaderboard because you got, two centers around 6K that went for 40 something points and you're really playing catch up. So, and that's amplified even more if guys get ruled out and value opens up elsewhere, because it means that people can get those 40-point games for 6K, at center, and then they just, punt with a small forward or power forward or whatever, and can still afford whatever they want. You also don't have those true pay up options on this slate. Embiid, Tatum, Lillard are the top 3 priced guys. You don't have Giannis, Jokic, and Luka, the guys that regularly are putting up those games where you just have to have them in your lineup. It's fewer and further between for these 3. So it's not my favorite strategy today, but if I was going that route, I think it would be the 2 mentioned and then also Drew Eubanks.
Yeah, that makes sense. Center, you might not necessarily want to punt that position. I think that there are some big questionable centers today that, like Gobert, he got Al Horford and Robert Williams questionable, so you could see some really, really killer plays. So I'd recommend not to play Mark Williams in particular because he locks at 7 p.m. That's a big disadvantage if a much better value play comes along. So that's how I would approach it. All right, let's move on to the next game. We got San Antonio at Toronto. On the San Antonio side, we got Keldon Johnson questionable. He hasn't missed any games recently. But this is significant because Trey Jones is continuing to be out, as well as Devin Vassell and Jeremy Sokan. So if Keldon Johnson misses this game, how much value do you expect to see in the Spurs?
I think there ends up being a lot, and it's pretty scary because it's the Spurs, and they are not a fun team to roster, but they're just already so shorthanded with no Vassell, with no Sohan, with no Trey Jones. Now, their salaries have adjusted a bit, so that keeps it from being as valuable as it could be. Malachi Branham's up to 5K now. Keita Bates-Diop is up to 4,600. I would expect that he's starting tonight in place of Sohan, most likely. If Keldon Johnson is out, maybe you get Stanley Johnson in the starting lineup. You could get McDermott or Roby as well. It's the Spurs. Like, they could go Blake Wesley too, I guess. But I think the most likely guess would be Stanley Johnson. But with Branham at 5K, with Keita Bates-Diop at 4,600, Josh Richardson at 5,600, there is still some value there, but not nearly as much as there would have been, a week or two ago before we started getting all these guys ruled out. Josh Richardson is pulling a lot of ownership right now at 24%. I do think that makes sense with shooting guard, small forward eligibility. He played 31 minutes last game. They need him as a ball handler. You've seen the increased playing time. So I think that makes sense. If you want to, roll the dice on Branham or Keita Bates-Diop, fine, but I think they're more correctly priced. Where it really does get interesting, though, is if Keldon is out, because not only does that open up more minutes for guys like McDermott, Stanley Johnson, but you're talking about a 30+% usage guy without Devin Vassell on the floor, and that usage going away when there's no real obvious answer for where it goes either. So you're just likely to see more usage for Josh Richardson, for Branham. Stanley Johnson probably gets a little bit more. Pirtle needs to play a bigger role offensively than he already does, and he already plays a big role. So that's where you really get the potential for the Spurs to be a very, very appealing team.
Yeah, definitely. It's really tough to know where the usage would go here if Keldon Johnson is out. But I guess Josh Richardson, you'd see his projection go up a decent amount because he can do some unassisted plays. So that'd probably be someone I feel even more confident in if Keldon Johnson's out, where a guy like Doug McDermott, who is more of a catch and shoot player, he could get the minutes, but still got to get him to hit shots. So it's not like a killer play, but he's 3,100, so that'd be a nice one. But with the plays as they are right now, it looks like there is some good value with Richardson probably picking up a start here. The percenters look pretty good with Pirtle and Collins both being plus values. So are you penciling in any Spurs into your lineup now?
Yeah, so with the way things look right now, the priorities for me are Richardson and Pirtle. Pirtle, again, just falls into that same caveat of, for every center priced around him that is getting ownership, and deservedly so, there are guys you can pivot to that are just getting a fraction of it. But Pirtle is a very good point per minute guy if he avoids foul trouble and if this game is competitive. Both of those are big ifs when you're talking about the Spurs and Pirtle. But He's like a 1.25 to 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy at 6,100. So there is plenty of upside for him. And if things go his way, he can approach 30 minutes. So him and Richardson will be the ones I get to first and most frequently. Keldon Johnson, if he's in, does give you a nice ceiling at 6,900, given the 30% usage rate he has without Devin Vassell, but still pretty much a correct price tag. He's around 1.05 to 1.1 DraftKings points per minute overall without Vassell on the floor.
Nice. On the other side of this one, we got the Raptors. OG Anunoby and Otto Porter continued to be out. I've been hearing some rumors about OG Anunoby on the trade market, but never really know. Since he's out, it doesn't matter a ton. But what are you seeing here as far as value on the Raptors side tonight?
I think it's a really interesting spot because their price tags increased by a bit, but this is also a great matchup against San Antonio. You do have some blowout risk, but you know that Nick Nurse runs tight rotations. We went back to the 8-man rotation last time out, which you have to love to see if you're rostering Raptors. And so the two guys that stand out are Gary Trent at 6,100 and Fred VanVleet at 9,100 on DraftKings, a shooting guard and small forward for Trent as well, which makes him, easy to get to. On FanDuel, same positions, he's 6K, so you have that great price tag there as well. But on FanDuel, Siakam actually stands out because he's power forward and center instead of power forward, but he's also only 8,600. So on DraftKings, I think Siakam is a high upside tournament play, but the problem is that he's center only. He's 9,400. You have also seen a drop off in his production recently from earlier in the year. I don't know what the reason for that is. I don't know if he's banged up. I don't know if VanVleet is just healthier now than he was earlier in the year and he's cutting into him. But not only is his per minute production down, his rates are also down. That being said, he can absolutely torch the Spurs here. So on DraftKings, it's a nice contrarian play. On FanDuel, it's more of a priority given the cheap price tag and the power forward position. On both sites, Gary Trent's going to look good at 6,100 and 6K respectively. Just should play mid 30s in minutes in a very good matchup. And then VanVleet looks good as well. His price tag's up to 9,100 on DraftKings, 8,900 on FanDuel, and he's pulling about 12% ownership. But the thing to keep in mind with his price hike is that when he was 8,300 recently, he was just pulling like 35% ownership on, 7, 8, 9 game slates. He was pretty clearly underpriced. So getting a price correction doesn't just immediately mean you're chasing points or he's overpriced. He's just less underpriced than he was before, but still a massive ceiling for him here. Chris Boucher played about 27 minutes last game. Those minutes are volatile. They're risky because if you get Thaddeus Young or Christian Coloco or somebody thrown into the rotation, then you very quickly can get 20 minutes instead of 27 from Boucher. But at 4,400, if he plays, even 24, 25 minutes here, he's going to project as a good value option.
Nice. Just got the news that Kyle Kuzma is out tonight. Let's wait just a minute to see if any other Wizards players get their statuses updated before we hit that one. All right, guys. If you haven't already jumped on No House Advantage, you've been missing out. Like a lot of people think you can only win the big prizes on DK and FanDuel, but they got some really nice tournaments over on No House Advantage. Plus, you can take advantage of overlay and their contests don't fill. That means you're like everyone's winning more money on each entry compared to other sites. So their pick'em contests, that's like they're versus the other players. So we have a tool on the site to help you build lineups for that with No House Advantage projections and optimal lineups. So you really don't even have to like think super hard. You just gotta put the lineups in and print. I took down a 12K prize a couple weeks ago on the conference championship. So that was pretty nice. I was just using some of our optimal lineups. And they also have versus the house. That's like their prop parlay tool. So or game. So you can build parlays and win money based on if they hit. So make sure to use the link in the description below to sign up for No House Advantage and access our No House Advantage projections. All right. They have a free $100 match for deposits, so that's pretty easy. We make $100 right away, and then you can win even more in the contest. All right. So the news was Bradley Beal and Monty Morris are game time decisions Wednesday. So this is Kuzma out thus far. That tends to make me think that Beal and Morris might be more likely to play now, but that's neither here nor there. What are you thinking with the Wizards now?
Yeah, don't really know exactly how to read into that, but that is normally how I interpret it when they rule one guy out and keep the other ones questionable. I assume that you're just like kind of waiting for them to go through some sort of warm up and see how they're feeling. I do know Beal had gone through shoot around last game or before last game and then didn't play. So could just be that they were being, cautious with him yesterday and he'll be back today. So I don't know exactly how to read into it, but we do know he is out, which probably, if Beal is in, it probably means Kispert is starting and Avdia is coming off the bench and playing around 30 minutes or so. It doesn't make either of them look super appealing. Porzingis looks marginally better. Beal looks marginally better. And then again, if Beal and Morris end up being out, you're getting not only more production for Porzingis, more minutes for Avdia. You can certainly play some sort of roulette with Kendrick Nunn, Will Barton. DeLon Wright should play pretty big minutes if Morris is out.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not seeing a ton of difference here taking Kuzma out. So Kispert's an interesting value, but not anyone to get really excited about. All right, Sacramento at Houston. Sacramento's an 8.5 road favorite. But they got the full team healthy. So this one, as of now, isn't looking amazing for DFS. I mean, Sabonis has always got a lot of upside, and Fox is a good player, but in today's slate, these guys are looking like negative values. What are you seeing?
I love this game from a contrarian standpoint. It's just that you can't prioritize a lot from it, especially the Sacramento side. But this kind of the way I talked about it with Josh this morning is all of Sacramento is correctly priced. 10-3 on Sabonis, 9K on Fox, between 53 or between 5,400 and 5,600 on Herter, Barnes, Murray. All of those price tags are correct, but with what should be a really fast-paced game with very little defense being played, it's just likely that you get like one or two guys that put up a score where at the end of the day you're just like, yeah, they could have been 25% more expensive and they still would have been good, just because the opportunities are there. But from a median standpoint, you just can't point to which one that's going to be. So that's why you're not getting much ownership going in. That's why you don't have high optimal percentages on anyone in particular, but as a whole, they are going a little bit under-owned. It's just guys that you kind of want to be mixing into tournament lineups to differentiate. And that is one nice thing about these, larger slates is instead of playing some random, just crappy play that's low owned and hoping to get lucky, you can play 2% Domantas Sabonis and say, hey, if Domantas Sabonis drops 65 on the Rockets, I'm in really, really good shape at the top of tournaments. That's something that, you can feel a little bit better about than being like, oh, well, I'm going to play this backup center because it's a 3-game slate. And that's like the only guy that nobody's playing.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Sabonis definitely can win you a GPP. Like, he only has a 3.5% chance of being optimal, but a 5% chance of being in, or 3.5 ownership, 5% optimal. Kevin Herter, kind of similar numbers. So, like, I'd say you probably want one or two of these guys per lineup that just, they aren't high percentage plays, but they do hit big when they hit. So, Sabonis and Fox probably would be in that category. On the Houston side, a little bit better values. The only injury news though is Garrison Matthews is questionable, so not a lot to wait around to hear, but it looks like Jalen Green may be the best value from the team. But everyone looks like they're in the kind of like playable territory. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like this side too. And like you said, the values are a little bit better. Jalen Green is the only guy pulling double-digit ownership at 13%. 6,800 just is good. Normally, he'd probably even be a little bit more popular, except for we already talked about, Tyler Hero at 7,500 getting a lot of ownership as a guard in that range. We haven't gotten to him yet, but Jordan Poole's one of the best plays on the slate at 7,100. So it's just naturally going to pull some ownership away from Jalen Green. Gabe Vincent also same positions, different price point, but a really good value that people are going to play. So that's why you're getting a little bit less ownership here, but still a really, really high upside spot for him. He's got about a 31.5% usage rate without Kevin Porter Jr. on the floor this year. He should give you mid 30s in minutes here. So I really like the ceiling that he offers. I think the ownership coming into him makes sense. The one guy that really stands out to me at low ownership, Alperen Sengun is one of my absolute favorite tournament plays today in terms of just being contrarian and having a reasonable price tag and a very high ceiling. He's playing big minutes. This started before Kevin Porter Jr. got hurt. You were getting basically Bruno Fernando kicked out of the rotation, Usman Garuba being the primary backup. You've gotten it flipped sometimes where, Fernando's in and Garuba's out. But earlier in the year, they were playing all three centers. So you were getting like 28 to 30 minutes in non-foul trouble games for Sengun. and then you're getting the 18 split between the other two. Now you're getting like 34 to 36 when Şengün avoids foul trouble, and 12 going to whoever the backup, 12 to 14 going to whoever the backup happens to be. So the $8,400 price tag and only 5% ownership coming into Şengün looks really, really good to me here. Obviously, there is foul risk because it is Şengün, and also, you're going up against Domantas Sabonis. But when you have, I don't think he's that different. I really like Bam Adebayo, but I don't think he's that different than Bam Adebayo, who on DraftKings getting 3 times the ownership. You have just so many centers that are pulling, 10, 15, 20% ownership. And then you just have Şengün sitting here at 5% as like a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy without Kevin Porter Jr. on the floor and likely to play 33 or 34 minutes. I love getting to Şengün at this ownership.
Yeah, it's a good contrarian play. Next game, Minnesota at Utah. We got Kyle Anderson, Rudy Gobert, and Jordan McLaughlin questionable for the Timberwolves. Now, we got to start off with Rudy Gobert revenge game, right? Because it's hard to believe he would sit this one out versus his former team. But this one's going to be all about what happens with Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert, it looks like, because with both of them in, it looks like there's not a ton of value, but they are making up a lot of minutes. So guys like Naz Reid and maybe you can share who you think would be going off if Kyle Anderson's out, because no one's really jumping off the page at me here, but who do you think would benefit if Anderson doesn't play today?
So if Anderson's out, there's a few ways it could go as far as who replaces him. Yesterday they went to Naz Reid. If Reid starts in place of Anderson, he's a good play. If he starts in place of Gobert, he's somebody that you just put in your lineups as much as you can. And the reason for the difference is that if he's playing alongside Gobert, you can't project quite as many minutes for him because there's still a lot of different ways that rotation can go. If he's playing in place of Gobert, his foul risk always, makes you project him around like 28 minutes or so. But in games where he's not in foul trouble, if he's playing in place of Gobert, Minnesota wants him to play like 34 to 36 minutes. That's not what you're projecting, but that's what they would like to happen. If he's starting next to Gobert, I don't know if they want him to play that many minutes or not. You still have Taurean Prince. You still have Jaden McDaniels. You have Matt Ryan that can compete for minutes. They could go to Taurean Prince as the starter. He is cheap. One way or the other, if Kyle Anderson's out, Prince should play more minutes. Obviously, he disappointed yesterday, but you can really just write off yesterday's game because they essentially benched anybody who is at any way in their rotation like 4 minutes into the third quarter and just called it a night. So don't read into that. You should be getting mid-20s in minutes from Prince if he's coming off the bench, potentially even more if he's starting in place of Anderson. Also, if Anderson's out, you could get more minutes from a $3,600 Jalen Noel. He is somebody that can handle the ball, and that's something Kyle Anderson does. It's very difficult for Minnesota to replace Kyle Anderson because he does so many different things. And so you don't have to necessarily look to the same position. You kind of just think about what he does. And Jalen Noel, somebody that can pick up some of the slack there as well. So there's a lot of different ways things can go with Anderson. And part of it, you're kind of going to have to figure it out based on the starting lineup. If Gobert is out, it's a lot easier. It is play Naz Reid.
That makes sense. Now, you mentioned D'Angelo Russell being someone who might be on the trading blocks. So that'll be a name to keep an eye out for later, because if he misses, then someone like McLaughlin or Noel, it could really pop off. Probably. Who do you think would get the start there? Noel?
That's so. They could go so many ways because normally they don't like playing Noel with the starters, but depending on who else is out, they might not really have options. Like if Kyle Anderson's in, you could just see Kyle Anderson and Anthony Edwards handling the ball, and then you get like a Matt Ryan spot start, or you get Taurean Prince, or there's like a lot of ways they can go. But if Kyle Anderson's out, they're already short ball handling. Then if Russell misses, it's even more difficult to not have ball handlers out there. So I don't really have a good feel for what they would do. Yesterday, you didn't have Anderson yesterday. McLaughlin and Noel were basically subbing in, playing together. Finch likes them playing alongside each other as well, which is another reason why I think they might try and find something to do other than Noel as a starter. But I'm not really sure where they would go if Russell is out, because there's no like perfect fit, and there's a lot of different options they could use.
All right, so keep an eye on those projections as they update throughout the night on that one.
You would probably get Anthony Edwards just literally having to carry this entire offense, though, which
nice.
makes the efficiency concerning. You always run the risk of he just gets strapped and Utah makes other guys beat them. But also, it's not like Utah's a great defensive team, and Anthony Edwards is certainly going to be putting up a lot of shots if Russell's out.
On the Utah side, it looks like we got some favorable prices on guys like Conley, Clarkson, and Olynyk. And then Jared Vanderbilt is questionable, so that could play in the favor of Walker Kessler. But is that an injury that you think is going to make a big difference?
I don't think it makes a big difference. So we saw Vanderbilt out last game. He went through shoot around today, but he's also rumored to be headed to the Lakers along with Malik Beasley. Mike Conley is rumored to be headed to the opponent here and going to Minnesota. So both sides of this game could just look totally different by the time we get to 9 o'clock. But as far as Vanderbilt goes, I don't think it has a huge impact on Kessler. It probably increases the likelihood of him getting a big minute game. But like yesterday, he still didn't even close. They closed with Colin Sexton in the lineup and Kelly Olynyk at the 5. So it's not a guarantee you're getting more minutes from Kessler. It makes him just, feel slightly better if Vanderbilt's out. But one way or the other, on average, I would expect 27, 28 minutes from him. And it just makes him look like another center in this range where he's got a massive ceiling. He gives you crazy block upside. He's only getting 6% ownership, so that's pretty appealing in tournaments as well. Kelly Olynyk at 4,700 just is going to look like a good value. The more guys they're missing, the better he's going to look. But he's back to playing normal minutes. He's averaged 28 minutes as a starter this year. Just makes him look pretty good at 4,700. Clarkson gives you a high ceiling at 6,500. If Conley's in, he looks okay. Just as, a $5,900 guy playing 30 to 32 minutes. About a point per minute guy, pulling 18% ownership. If he's out, you very likely get $3,800 Colin Sexton looking like one of the best values tonight.
Nice. Yeah, Colin Sexton would be a name that no one's thinking of now. That really be a great value if Conley does get traded tonight. All right, guys. We have a ton of tools to help you at Stokastic. I mean, our job here is really to help you guys win these tournaments. So a lot of tools to help the boom bust that gives you all the data you need for making some killer NBA lineups. We got the lineup generator new this year to help you make really good lineups really quick. And that's actually available as a standalone package as well. If you want to go at a cheaper price point, we give 50% off the first week or month of any non-fantasy cruncher package. So make sure to check the link in the description to take advantage of that 50% off the first month or week if you're not already a Stokastic member. All right, 2 games left here. We got Dallas at I was gonna say LA Chargers, but it shows that how football thinking I am. It's okay. So Luka's still out, but Kyrie is in for the Mavs. So not exactly a 1-to-1 swap, but that definitely makes the rest of the team not as exciting as they otherwise would be. So do you have any Mavs interest tonight?
No, I mentioned it earlier. I think this is one of the least appealing games unless we get some really crazy stuff happening. But like Kyrie at 10-6 clearly has a massive ceiling, but he's already priced basically, from playing without Kevin Durant. And then now you have him in a new system on a new team where you don't know exactly how many minutes they're going to play him right out of the gate. A big reason he was this price on Brooklyn wasn't just the increase in production. It was that you knew he was playing 38 minutes every single game. And he needs to, if he plays 35 minutes or 36 minutes today, that immediately would just make him look overpriced. And I don't think his first game here, you can just go in and say, oh yeah, he's definitely playing 38 minutes because we have no idea, how much of this offense he knows, how much Jason Kidd cares, if he knows the offense or if he just wants Kyrie to go out there and kind of just run things on the fly. You can't just assume 38 is the average outcome though. So the ceiling's obviously there for Kyrie. And the one thing he has going for him is that you don't have all of those other pay up options today. But that said, I'm not anticipating getting to Kyrie, but he's also going to be on the floor enough minutes where I don't want to get to a priced up Tim Hardaway. I don't want to get to a priced up Christian Wood. I have really nothing from this team.
Agreed. And on the Clippers side, honestly, this one doesn't look very appealing either because George and Leonard are both in tonight. So do you see any good plays on the Clippers side?
I think Marcus Morris is getting slept on a little bit. He played 34 minutes, I think, 2 games ago. Last game, he only played 17, but that's because he got ejected in the first half. He had played like 17 minutes and he got ejected with 2 minutes to go in the first half. So you've just suddenly been getting huge minutes from Marcus Morris in what's been a more condensed rotation for the Clippers. He's only $4,400 and he's only pulling 5% ownership. He's not the best point per minute guy, but that's too cheap of a price tag for the rotation the Clippers are running right now and the way they've been handling Marcus Morris. Outside of that, George and Kawhi are always fine if you get there, but they don't stand out. Zubats is always fine if you get there at 5,700. He's another center in that price range, not pulling a ton of ownership. On average, he's going to give you around 30 minutes, but we're 2 games removed from 38 in regulation. It happens often enough where I like the tournament appeal, but again, if I can't say like, oh yeah, I'm just jamming in Zubats, because that would mean I have to start telling you which of the guys in this price range I don't want to play. And I can't do that because I really just want to play them all.
Nice. Now the last game here, Golden State at Portland. This one is one of the more appealing of the night. Start with the Portland side because it's a little bit less exciting. Drew Eubanks continuing to start for Yusuf Nurkic, most likely. So he's looking like a good value. Aside from that, Anthony Simons and Josh Hart are looking slightly plus value, but the main thing here is if you put any of these guys in your lineup, you're going to be set up for late swapping. So how are you handling Portland?
Yeah, so I'm glad that they look good because we were talking about earlier, having that late flexibility is going to be nice. All 5 of the starters just look good. This is kind of like Cleveland, where relative to salary and positions, I don't think there's one guy that I'm pointing to and saying like, oh yeah, this is the one that I'm building around tonight. But there's just 5 guys that I expect to be mixed and matched throughout lineups, and it's all 5 of the starters. It's easier to get to Dame today than normal because you don't have him competing with not only those top tier guys, Jokic, Giannis, Luka. You don't have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on this slate. You don't have Trae Young. You don't have Stephen Curry. So you don't have a lot of guys in this price range to compete with. You do have a lot of guards to compete with at cheaper price tags. But Lillard projects as one of the highest scorers on the slate, if not the highest scorer. Right now, we have him second to Embiid, so, and not by a lot. So, one of the highest scorers on the slate. He's going to look good. Jeremy Grant, 6,700, plays big minutes in a good spot. We have seen a little bit of an uptick in rebounding opportunities for him without Nurkic as well. That's something that certainly can help. You get big minutes from Simons. Eubanks, you can expect to play around 25, 26 minutes with around 22, going to Watford as his backup. Josh Hart is probably the least exciting of the starters in terms of looking at him and being like, oh, good, I got this guy in my lineup. But he's a small forward that's likely to give you 33, 34 minutes at 5,800. Right now, at least, it looks like a pretty appealing spot. It's kind of the same play as Tobias Harris, except just like a better one because he's playing Golden State in a fast-paced, high-scoring game instead of playing Boston in the opposite.
Nice. Now on the Golden State side, with Steph Curry out for game number 2, the prices haven't caught up quite yet. Jordan Poole is the prime example at 7,100 on DK. Just a really solid value and a price point that's very easy to fit in. So it looks like one of the top plays of the night. Do you have any reason to not play Jordan Poole, I guess?
Nope. I think he's one of the best plays, regardless of position, regardless of price, just everything considered. I think he's one of the top plays. Obviously, there's a little bit more risk than there was the other day when he was like 62 or 6,500, but still going to look very good. In the games this year that he's played without Curry and with Klay Thompson, he's played 10 games now. 1.26 DraftKings points per minute, 34.5 minutes per game, 35.9% usage rate, also a 26.8% assist percentage. He has no issues stepping in and just taking over every opportunity that Steph Curry gets. Obviously, he has issues being nearly as efficient as Curry, but he doesn't let that get him down. He stays confident and he keeps chucking up shots without stopping. So makes him look fantastic. Absolutely love getting to him. Good, game environment as well helps. I think after him, you get we need to pay attention to the starting lineup. We got Kuminga starting last game. He played about 23 minutes. If he's in the starting lineup again at 3,800, he does look like a good value. He's pulling about 22% ownership. If he's coming off the bench, there's still potential value, but certainly becomes a lot riskier, also a lot lower owned. Draymond, Wiggins, Thompson, I think all just sort of reasonable secondary plays. But to me, Jordan Poole's the very, very clear priority. And then Jonathan Kuminga, if he is starting, is the best value other than Poole.
Nice. Guys, this is a slate where you want to pay a ton of attention. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And we got a full hour of content leading up to lock and 30 minutes past it to keep you up to date with all the latest updates for NBA. Eric and Greg will be taking you all the way up to lock. And if we can get a like in the meantime, greatly appreciate that support. And make sure to check out our sponsor, No House Advantage. Use the link in the description below for that free $100 match. And stay tuned.
Yo, it's that time of week again. We're back to induct you fine people into the Hall of Fame right here at Stokastic.com and give out some Stokastic Plus Platinum memberships, $120 value. All you need to do to get involved, get yourself up here, get the free month, is go to Stokastic.com/avatar, download the avatar, use it wherever you play. And when you win, finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Tweet your wins at Stokastic HOF on Twitter, at Stokastic Hall of Fame. Get your free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, and I'll induct you right here every single week. And we got some great ones today, kicking it off with Mike Jasbeck. Yet another reason why Stokastic DFS is the best of the best. Tools are second to none. They provide absolute best content out there. Shout out to all the guys who do the live shows. Keep the amazing content coming, fellas, and thanks for all you do. $20,000 win, second place in the Thursday NBA shot. Great way to kick this one off. But also, how about Avi? Avi's always hanging out with us, been kind and generous with his super chats over the years. We appreciate you. I know who you are, man. Thanks for the tips. Biggest win of my life, $20,000. Another second place in the NBA shot. And then you got our boy Greg Ehrenberg going back to back. Spent most of the night complaining about DFS slate, turned the games off to go to bed, woke up to find the slate actually wasn't bad. $5,000. How about that? First place in the NBA shot. And then Greg Ehrenberg again. The people who thought I could only win with 600 lineups are in shambles. I came in first in a 20 max entry contest last night with only 40 lineups. What are the haters going to say this time? Shout out to our boy Greg. You'll see him right after this on Live Before Lock. And then Smitty, 1,850, a very simple man at Stokastic Hall of Fame. Nice win there, man. Matt Fukuda at Stokastic actually ran good tonight. Thanks, Greg and Neil and the entire Stokastic crew. $1,600 win over there on DraftKings. Shout out to you, Matt. And also to Zachary Williamson. Stat correction placed me above a 7-man train. $500 swing. Took second place in the end one. That's huge. Followed up by Kenny Herron. Shout out to the entire Stokastic team, but especially Josh Ingham. And Josh getting the personalized shout out for the process show. Yep, 6:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. And Greg killing it every day on Live Before Lock. Give me that free month. You got it, brother. First place in the hot shot, $750. And then how about we've got Jim McCorkle. I love the tools and the shows. I'm really starting to see the results. Almost got to the top of the mountain. It's been a while. Thanks to Stokastic. Hey, still enough to get you in the door. 252nd in the NHL hip check. Followed up by Pete Prado. Holy crap, on the first day I purchased and used the lineup generator. You guys rock. So $30 win here, but guess what? $120 subscription. Free. And inducted in the Hall of Fame for Pete here. Four times what he just made on that. But look at it. Lineup generator, first day. Throws some entries into the quarter jukebox and takes down first place. Great stuff, Pete. And Pedro, I love seeing this. The NBA Bet Pro tools, brand new. The first week is entirely free. Pedro says, thanks to Stokastic. Hit this parlay last night. Best tool in the game is NBA Bet Pro. 51 in the 720, 4-leg parlay. And then Pedro hits us with another one. NBA Bet Pro on point. Thanks to Stokastic. $10 into $1,600 parlay. What are we looking at? 7 legs in that one? Yeah. Gotta love it, man. Gotta love it. And we close it with the professor. Trust the projections. Thanks to the team. Solid win during a little fantasy slump. This dude just went on an absolute tear with the parlays. Shout out to the professor and everybody else. Welcome to the Stokastic Hall of Fame. You've now been inducted. Collect your free subscriptions for the month. And remember, download the Stokastic avatar. It's Stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stokastic HOF.
great production the next 90 minutes yourself. What is going on, everybody? It is time for another Stokastic NBA Live Before Lock-In today. Myself, Eric Lindquist, and a very, very happy and enthusiastic Jordan Klein is producing the show. He's in a great mood. He got the new Harry Potter game. He's all excited to play it. It's going really well for him. So you can just tell there are very few times that Jordan is brimming with this kind of energy, and him getting a new video game that he's very enthused about apparently brings a whole different mood and energy to Jordan. So he was very fired up before we started the show. And we are too, because Twitter just came back. So we're going to be able to get news during the show. That is going to be helpful for us. That could have been a disaster right on the eve of trade deadline. We've already got news because we just saw Donovan Mitchell ruled out. We just saw Darius Garland ruled out. So as you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Eric and I are about to break down all of the news on the slate, starting with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But Eric, what is happening today?
Not much. My brother's visiting. He just got back in, or just got into town. It's not like he was here. But I got him here for the weekend. That's going to be awesome. Took Duke for a hike. It was a great start to the morning. Did the golf stuff. Put all my lineups together for that, for the waste management. Phenomenal golf tournament going on this weekend. After us, half an hour after us, you definitely want to check out Ben Rouser, Jeff Ulrich, breaking down everything there. The contests are awesome. Going to be a fun week of golf.
Yeah, so we have the PGA Live Before Lock coming up after us. And also, if there's any time you guys want to check out all the projections we have on the site, it's going to be the next couple of days because of stuff like the NBA trade deadline and just how much this is going to impact certain teams. Like, I'm kind of surprised Mike Conley has been ruled out yet for tonight, just based on some of the rumors we've heard about how it looks like that there's going to be a 3-team trade that involves D'Angelo Russell, Mike Conley, and Russell Westbrook. So that's something that I think is going to shape the slate. But if you guys haven't checked out our projections yet, when you sign up for the first time using the link below, 50% off the first week of the package you purchase. So if you guys want to check out NBA Weekly Pass, you're going to get 50% off anything you like. Our new NBA lineup generator, 50% off. And as is, it's already less than $10. And this is going to be the easiest way to help you guys build plus EV lineups is with our new lineup generator, which is also always being updated with all of the current and latest NBA news, which there is going to be a lot of today, Eric, starting with what we just got out of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So Darius Garland is out, Donovan Mitchell is out, and we got the starting lineup, and not one that we were necessarily expecting. Caris LeVert starting is not a surprise. Paul Neto starting is a little bit of one, though. So just what's your instant reaction to this new starting lineup for Cleveland without Garland and Mitchell?
Yeah, it's a little frustrating because you kind of highlighted two massive spots that we could be looking at. Minnesota and Utah playing each other sounds like there's a lot of things in the works before Twitter shut off as I was constantly trying to search for stuff. But you've got that. You just have a lot of later news that can pop up, especially today. Tomorrow, usually it's a little calm after the storm, but tonight is generally the crazier night. People don't ever think about it that way unless you're in the middle of it. And yeah, there's going to be something that pops up that we don't expect, a starting lineup you don't expect. And so do I want to be using a ton of my lineup spots over on DK? You have Caris LeVert. He's 4,800. You kind of have to play him now that he's starting. Raul Neto, 3K, point guard, shooting guard. How many minutes do we see him playing? Because Ricky Rubio's still there. I mean, he's not your typical like fantastic fantasy point per minute guy. 0.7. I feel like just because you don't have them there, it's an issue. We're going to now have more lineups going towards Mobley. He's my favorite play alongside with Jared Allen, 6,900 for him on DK at center. We're kind of forced into a spot where we got to really pick and choose how we're going to utilize these guys. And I think I'm just kind of starting to figure it out.
Yeah. And I'm with you, by the way. I like Evan Mobley a lot, and we should look at some of the on-off court numbers for this team as well, just to see what it looks like. Because it's not like we've seen very many spots with both these guys out. But then, I mean, other guys too, like Chetty Osman could be somebody who ends up playing extended minutes off the bench. As for my browser just closed and everything I had in front of me is no longer there.
LOL.
But I remember your question. I knew what I was going to say before anyway, because we were going to talk about some of the minutes for the point guard scenario. And I still have to think Neto is going to play more than Ricky Rubio. I think the biggest question, though, is are they going to share the court together? Because if not, I think we're probably looking at like 26 minutes for Neto, 22 for Rubio. But if they're going to share the court together, you have potential for like 30 plus from Neto and like the 22 from Rubio. Rubio's still somewhat capped because just him coming back from the injury and whatnot. but do you foresee them sharing the court at all?
I don't. I think they have enough bodies. Sorry. Took a sip of coffee and then there was like ice in the middle of it. It was not a good look in any way, shape, or form, but I don't think so. Like, I think Lamar Stevens ends up kind of joining this rotation as I'm piecing together minutes for everybody. I think it's going to just be a 26-22. I think that's about the perfect split that I'm looking at between the two of them. Maybe this is a game where if Rubio gets it going, you can get him up to 24, but I doubt it. Again, what are the intentions for them, for everybody at the deadline? I know Kevin Love has not been in the rotation, so that's something to be paying attention to. But like between Dean Wade, Chetty Osman, I'm just adding Lamar Stevens into the rotation here as well. Isaac Okoro's good to go there. I think they're going to explicitly just have it be Ricky Rubio replacing Neto, kind of like a backup center situation. So I'm going 26-22. You kind of hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and then the other point too is, I do think guys like Chetty Osman could have value, and still trying to get everything back up, just pull the YouTube chat back up, get Discord
back
worst.
Up. People don't understand. People don't understand, like when you're live on a show and you have 48 tabs up like we do, where you have like Wowie, you've got Basketball Reference, you've got NBA.com, you've got Dunks and Threes, you've got all DK FanDuel, you've got every Stokastic tab underneath the sun. It is extraneous to miss a click on the red X in the corner,
which isn't what happened. The browser just crashed.
Oh, well, that sucks.
Which it was because I was it happens sometimes. I was recrunching lineups for the Cleveland stuff, and then my browser's like, "Yeah, we've had enough of this. How about you give us a break?"
Chris, shut up.
Shut down.
Chris Carrot, shut up. Shut up. Shut your mouth when you're talking to me. It's not very nice.
What did Chris say?
He just said classic Eric complaining. I was complaining for you.
He was complaining on my behalf. He's just because we're connected like that.
Yeah. Tip to tip, son.
Yeah, exactly. See, look at that. Even that, we both knew we were going to do it at the same time.
It's beautiful. I enjoyed it.
Connected. Yeah. Talking. So the other thing too is when we're looking at the Cleveland Cavaliers, I want to bring up some of the on-off court numbers, which I had in front of me, and now I have to reload. I want to know, what does Neto look like from a points per minute basis this year?
Awful.
But with Garland and Mitchell both off the court, is it still bad?
Yes. I'm going back over to the tab. I had switched over to Minnesota for a second, so let me go back. Garland, Mitchell off the floor. Howell Neto, not as bad, 0.76, but like 0.69 on the season for a going rate on DK, 0.76 with no Garland, and no Mitchell. It's a guy who's going to show up in a couple lineups, but like, I really think there's also the opportunity for a floor to present itself where like they can play LeVert at point. Like, that's not an issue. You could very easily just have LeVert play some point guard too. If Neto doesn't have like a good rotation, he could play the first 6 minutes of both halves and that kind of be it. Like, there aren't a lot of scenarios where we've seen this. I mean, the most minutes Neto's played in a game all season long, guess.
26?
21. He hasn't played over 21 minutes in a single game this season. So like for me, he's not a guy that I think I want to put any kind of stock into. So he hasn't had a single start. He had 27 fantasy points. He played 24 minutes on the 4th of November, correction. But other than that, 21 minutes was the high point, has not received a start. I find it very, very unlikely we just had 26-22. I'll just shift that to like 24, 22, and maybe like 2 or 4 for LeVert at point.
Okay, so let's if you give Neto a bunch of minutes, like you're going to get to more of them than you want to, most likely. So
yeah, I'm not gonna. I think the more I'm talking through it, it's like a 3K Neto. It's the same Sam Hauser kind of situation. Could he go out there and Sam Hauser can actually like shoot the rock a little bit? So like there was a path on DK with a 3-point bonus to maybe have that work out. Neto is just kind of a net nothing. Like he'll run into some stats because he's on the floor, but like he is such a bad fantasy point per minute dude. He's just going to be there to, it's like when you're in high school and you want to be the guy, but you're not the guy. And you have like a 6'9" dude in the post who it's like, fine, I'll give it to the clumsy dude in the post. You just can't do anything. Well, this is just like, give it to Evan Mobley and let him do stuff.
And now let's see what some of our projections end up having on Neto as well. Let's see if we have that updated. I'm really curious to see what some of the ownership ends up being as well. Like I have no expectation I really don't know what to see once there's an ownership update on the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that's something that I'm really, really curious to see. Let's see if we've got an ownership run yet. Pulling up tabs, refreshing everything. The other thing too is it asked it like it couldn't have crashed 5 minutes before the show where I could have gotten everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I feel. Andrew Jansen, Neto is 3K. Damn it. Yeah. If Neto wasn't 3K, my life would be a lot easier right now. I don't want to do it. Again, I said it feels like the Hauser thing because they're just not good fantasy point per minute guys. And shit, we could be talking about Sam Hauser here very, very shortly too, about what we want to do with him. He's 3,700, but like Robert Williams, Al Horford waiting in the wings. I think they just play more minutes. You have Grant Williams there. Luke Cornett can play some center. I don't think I want to be doing something like that, but if he gets like a spot start, played 31 minutes the other night, oh boy, it could be weird.
Yeah, so that's, by the way, this is just the first piece of news to drop.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we should also tell people some of the other players who are on the injury report. And then also, weird trades and stuff are going to happen. The spot we really are going to have to talk about is the Utah, Minnesota, especially because it looks like those two teams could be a trade that are involving each other. Joel Embiid is questionable. I do not give a shit. I'm tired of him being questionable. I'm tired of LeBron James being questionable. We were talking about this before the show. LeBron was listed as questionable last night. All of the celebrities are sitting courtside to see him. All his friends from high school showed up to the game. He rented out a club to have an after party after the game last night. There was never any reason to think he wasn't going to play, but for whatever reason, the Lakers listed him as questionable on the injury report. The dumbest thing ever. Like,
at least I jammed the over 31.5 and 32.5 points the night before. I almost talked myself out of it. On Live Before Lock, but obviously once the bets are made, there you go.
If you would have known that he had his entire friend group from high school going, I know this is a dumb narrative, but how much more confident would you have been in that he was breaking the scoring record that night?
Again, it's so weird because we're a data-driven company. That's what I said yesterday. Everything we do is encompassed in data and trying to be predictable about unpredictable things, trying to find ways to explain the unexplainable at times. But like, that is truly just 100% narrative based, not derived in data. But like, I still felt so confident about it last night, or the night before. It would have been Monday night. And then Tuesday, I spent the whole day trying to talk myself out of it and trying to hedge out, and I never did it. So happy that worked out that well.
So the other thing too, though, with points is a player could influence that with usage. Like Kobe Bryant's last game that he played in the NBA for the Lakers. Do you remember how many shots he took in that game?
Yeah, it was like 40 or something.
I believe it was 50.
50?
I think,
yeah.
So
I was at that game, which is kind of cool.
Were you?
I was at the last 3 Kobe games at Staples Now Crypto.com.
Yeah, so he took 50 field goal attempts in that game, and just as the game started, I was like, "Oh, LeBron is going to take however many shots necessary to break the scoring record, just have it be done with tonight." That was, and then he actually hardly shot after I think he scored, was it 2 more points?
Yeah,
the entire rest of the game.
It was so last night I almost bought a ticket. I almost last second. My wife, I had my brother coming in town. Otherwise, I definitely would have. But I was just going to get like a nosebleed ticket and just go watch and just be in the building because, like, I don't think people understand being in LA, like how insane Lakers fans are and going to those games. Jordan Klein can relate. He definitely knows. He's got Kobe in the background behind him, for God's sakes. But once that game started and you heard the crowd, there was a 0% chance that he wasn't going for 35, like a 0% chance.
Yeah, and
that he wasn't going for that.
Yeah. And so once again, like it's neither here nor there. It's in the past, but still thought it was interesting anyway. Getting past that. Joel Embiid is questionable. I think that's bullshit. Just like the LeBron one from yesterday. Bradley Beal is questionable. Rudy Gobert is questionable. Keldon Johnson is questionable. Robert Williams is questionable. Monty Morris is questionable. Kyle Anderson is questionable. Al Horford is questionable. Jared Vanderbilt is questionable. And then just overall, we have this weird scenario where there's been this rumor trade between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Utah Jazz. These two teams are playing each other. And like I said, we already have Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert on the injury report. We already have Jared Vanderbilt on the other side of the injury report. Jordan McLaughlin is questionable. And the reason that could really be significant is because a lot of reports are indicating that Mike Conley and D'Angelo Russell are in the middle of a 3-team trade that's also going to involve Russell Westbrook, where it would be Russell goes to the Lakers, Westbrook goes to the Jazz, where he would then be bought out and would no longer be on an NBA team. And the Jazz would also get a first-round pick. And the Minnesota Timberwolves would get Mike Conley. So those are all what the moving parts would be in that trade. Just based on that information, how likely do you think it is that Russell and Conley play tonight, even though they aren't on the injury report?
I'm going to keep them in. Again, a lot of this stuff really accelerates
news,
tomorrow morning. Yeah, I saw that. But Minnesota, Utah, I mean, we got to look at, for me, the thing is I already project Vanderbilt not to play basketball today. So do we agree with that?
Yeah. And by the way, now the trade, Brandon Katz just said no one is buying out Westbrook's contract. That might as well mean that the trade's official. Might as well mean the trade's official.
Just call the man out. Easy on him. But Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley is like the other dude too, where it's like, I think he still shows up. I'm pretty sure Jared Vanderbilt, just because they held him out last game with whatever BS that was, lower back spasms. Cool. I don't think he's playing basketball tonight, so I already have him out. Malik Beasley, I think it's probably something where he just plays a very, very minimal role, maybe even more minimal than we've seen. He got down to 17 minutes on 2 games ago, it was. Then played 23 against Dallas. It's more of like, oh, we're going to trade him. Oh, no, we're not going to. But like, that's different than the 29-30 they had started to play him in that backup role. So I still think he plays a few minutes. Mike Conley, like none of this is appealing unless everybody sits. And then we got to talk about like Agbaji and bullshit. But like, as it stands right now, I still have them in. I do not have any idea whether or not D'Angelo Russell ends up playing or not. Gobert and Anderson, I think we're already going to be paying close attention to that. Naz Reid ended up being a phenomenal play starting. And I understand that it's not the same as him starting for Gobert, but like him starting for Anderson still, there's an opportunity for him to go nuts. And he only played 12 minutes because they got completely bludgeoned. Of course, he picked up 2 quick fouls and got the hook immediately 4 minutes into the game and then didn't have to come back out after Denver was up by infinity. But like, I think Minnesota's a team we already want to kind of like have some exposure to waiting in the wings and just kind of see what happens. So like, I think I'll be able to swap enough into that game regardless of what happens.
By the way, we just got news from the Washington Wizards, and that is that Bradley Beal will play. Monty Morris has been ruled out. So Monty Morris being ruled out would have been a lot more significant if Beal was also ruled out, but we've got that news. And then we also got an ownership update for the
Cavs.
Or at least I thought we did. Let me refresh again.
Take a look. It doesn't matter. Either way, we're going to have it before long. For me, now you're going to have to update Washington stuff. And I think what really becomes interesting is who is that other starter? Because, Denny Avdia was somebody that I think you and I were both very, very high on coming off the bench against Brooklyn. And then we were very, very high on him coming in that start. They ended up getting bludgeoned by Cleveland. Lots of teams get bludgeoned by Cleveland, but I don't regret that play. He still played 30 minutes, just didn't get there because he didn't play those last 6 and they're playing Cleveland. Lot better spot playing Charlotte, just throwing it out there. So Denny Avdia, regardless, 5,700. He's pulling quite a bit of exposure, but like he's one of the guys in the early window, this Detroit, Cleveland, Charlotte, Washington spot that I've already got my eye on. My thing is, does it become Kendrick Nunn season? Like they already traded for him. I think there's a pretty good chance that Kendrick Nunn, like I would say closer to like 40-50% that he might end up getting the surprise start. And at 3,200, I would prefer getting him as opposed to Raul Neto by a mile.
And by the way, just to talk about some of the projections that we have, because we do have the Cleveland Cavaliers updated now. Actually, Jordan, would you mind just throwing on the screen? Go to the projections we have for tonight and just isolate the Cleveland Cavaliers so we could just look at some of these players just to kind of highlight what some of the movement has been and some of the player projections for these guys and what they look like from a value standpoint. Because right now we have and I'll do DraftKings first and look over FanDuel, just the raw projections for the players. Evan Mobley projects out the highest, which Eric and I were both saying before, he's going to be our highest priority there. 7,200 power forward and center eligibility on DraftKings project for nearly 42 fantasy points. Then we've got Jared Allen at 38, Karis LeVert at 34, Rubio at 25, Chetty coming in at 23. And then we've got Okoro and Neto there at 21 and 20 apiece. That is for DraftKings purposes. And then pulling up the FanDuel one where the numbers are going to be, more or less the same, but a little bit different. But we want to make sure we give everybody the information out there. Mobley also 41, Jared Allen 38. Then we got Karis LeVert at 33, Rubio at 25, and then Osman Okoro at 21. Raul Neto just under 20 fantasy points over for FanDuel. And once again, if you guys want to sign up for all the tools we have here, you can get 50% off the first package you sign up by clicking on the link we have below. And Jordan, if you could throw that into the YouTube chat as well, just when you click on that, the coupon code is already preloaded into it. So super easy to sign up via that, get access to our player projections, ownership projections and all the other tools we have. Does anything stand out to you about our Cleveland projections? It's more or less what I was expecting here.
Yeah, it's more or less what I was expecting. When I updated my stuff too, the one thing that really happened was I got to Ricky Rubio, and I thought that was pretty fascinating. At 4K, I mean, just think about it this way. We just talked about his high point in minutes netto is 24 minutes, and this is an extenuating circumstance. There's no Mitchell, there's no Garland, but like Ricky Rubio confirmed his entire career good from a fantasy point per minute perspective, over a fantasy point per minute this season, get some more opportunities to go out and run in the second unit. You're going to have one of Mobley and Allen on the floor pretty much that entire game, which is useful. You're going to be playing with Karis LeVert, get some open shots for Chetty and create. Ricky Rubio is somebody at 4K. 4K. We'll see what happens with this Neto ownership because we're still waiting on some of that. But from a pure projection standpoint, he's projected for almost 26 fantasy points. And I have him just a shy lower than that, it would look like. And again, I'm still getting to him quite a bit. So like I'm going to update here with Stokastic. Yeah, I'm going to get to a lot of Ricky Rubio, it looks like.
And now here's the other thing we should talk about is because now in Washington, also something that once we get the starting lineup for, we'll have more information. And Rich, who's running the projections today, just messaged me that it's rerunning.
Awesome.
He's rerunning it now with the Washington news being incorporated into it. But pretty clearly right now, of all the teams that we have available at our disposal, the best value is coming from Cleveland right now. But it's the first game of the day. There's some news that we're expecting to come out later. So how many lineup spots are you willing to give to Cleveland Cavs players? Like, what's the most you're willing to play in any one lineup?
This is where I think we could maybe have a conversation about maybe just putting like a player max on of like 2, because they're so good. But like if I ran lineups right now, I would get to like 3 of these dudes in every single lineup. Like I think some way to just like mitigate how much you're getting to them and still giving yourself some swappability later in the night is put a team max of 2 on and just see what happens with those lineups. I mean, I'm still going to get to a lot of LeVert, Mobley, Allen, Rubio, but I won't get them all together in the same lineup. And that's kind of like my major concern is like, I don't know if I want to be giving up lineups to have 3 or 4 of these guys in it, knowing that other things could show up massively. And mainly because everybody's going to be playing Cleveland anyway. Like they're a really, really good spot. It's not like they're going overlooked with how early this came out. The whole idea of late swap isn't necessarily just to get really good values and plays out that way. It's to get lower owned plays that are lower owned than they would have been if you had known before lock. Like it's really just the leverage aspect of it. So I think I'm going to put like a 2 cap player on. I just ran one without it and I'm getting like 4 or 3 Cleveland players and everything. I think that's going to be something that we can talk about getting closer to lock. I think maybe just putting a cap of 2 on and just kind of rotating through those same guys and waiting for other pieces to mix into those lineups.
Yeah, so I know I ran my lineups, just what ends up popping up if I don't set any kind of restrictions. Yeah, you get to a ton, like nearly all the lineups I had. I don't think I had any lineups with less than 3 Cavs players when I ran it without kind of restrictions. I don't know that I want to make lineups though where I'm so restrictive that I'll only play 2 Cavs, just because it's such a reasonable scenario to me where LeVert, Mobley, and Allen all have really big games.
Yeah.
So
maybe run like half of your lineups with 2 for like a team max 2 on them, and then run some with like a 3. Like I think I want to avoid 4 because I think 4 is something that people who are just setting it and forgetting it are going to run into. Like there's going to be a lot of people who run into 4 Cavs right now. And I think I think that might be the outward mistake. Like for me, I could see a path where 4 end up being optimal, but like I truly do think I'm going to put like a 2 or 3 cap on and run it that way.
Yeah, so I am, by the way, just I ran a 3 cap, and these are the players I got to the most of in order. With the 3 cap, it ended up being LeVert 1, Mobley 2, Neto did show up as my 3rd most roster, then it was Rubio, and then Jared Allen when I ran it with a 3 cap.
Okay, I'm gonna run this with 2. This if nothing else, even if this isn't like what ends up happening, because I'm going to pay attention to the boom bust tool and use that. I always use that as kind of my default answer. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm still getting to an unbelievable amount of Mobley and Rubio. And then what's happening is I'm just getting to far less LeVert and Allen than what I'd want. So what I'm probably going to do is artificially boost LeVert. And then I'm going to run it with 3 here for like the second half of my lineups and see what happens there.
Yeah, and we got a question in our Discord channel. This is from Big Dream $. Will you have exposure to Kevin Love today? No, at least Kevin Love has not been in the rotation as of late. And the team also said the other day in a press conference that Kevin Love is out of the rotation. So could he re-enter the rotation because of injuries? Perhaps. But I don't think this is a slate where we need to take a shot on this. I assume the same for you.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, he's like another Russell Westbrook where he's going to get bought out probably by somebody else and get shipped somewhere.
And some of the other questions we have, it's Lippy. This is the Sam Hauser man himself. Says that he likes Kyrie Irving today at 2% ownership.
I do
What
too.
are our thoughts?
Yeah, I like him at 2%. That's the reason that I like him. I don't know what to expect from the scenario. All I know is that it's Kyrie Irving with a lot of just random kerfuffle. Like, just nobody else on Dallas is any good. You had Jaden Hardy really play well in that spot, but like with Kyrie there, he's kind of complete nothing for me. Josh Green went ballistic. I still can't believe how bad Utah. Like, if Utah didn't blow up their team after that loss, I would have been I'd be a little confused because that's as bad as it gets. Oh, Robert Williams out. Joy.
Right.
Go ahead.
Horford.
Yep.
Horford also out. So I knew that news was, it had to be right behind. So there we go. More. And you know, it's funny. Now I just ran those lineups with the Cavs players and it's all going to be for naught because we have to talk about, and still
play a little Hauser father.
Ugh. Yeah. So Sam Hauser, let's see what Lippy has to say about Sam Hauser today, because he was 100% on him yesterday, or what was it, 2 days ago? What was the Sam Hauser slate?
At 100% on a dude that made no sense. And then he went 3 for 3 to start off the game with like 4 boards. And you and I were like, yep, hope he kept it. And he did. So yay for him.
Yeah. So
yeah, Luke Cornett is the guy I'm worried about. I haven't even
updated Washington yet because I feel like it's a waste of time until we get the starting lineup.
Sure is. Also, I'm so glad I have Philadelphia plus 4.5. Like, if Joel Embiid plays like he should here, he's going to get Luke Cornett, Sam Hauser, Jason Tatum. Like, best of luck to Boston containing Joel Embiid. I wish he had props out. That would have been fun.
Yeah, that's true. We now have a much weaker front court for
the Boston
do I
like
Celtics
Embiid today
than we otherwise thought it was going to be. So what is even this front court going to look like here?
Blake Griffin, I assume, starts. You have to start. You can't start the same grouping that you did against Detroit. It's a different matchup, different spot. Did you also see all the Grant Williams conversation where apparently he wants $20 million in the offseason and now they've drastically reduced his minutes as a result because they're looking at moving him?
I don't think his minutes are getting reduced tonight.
No, I do not. But I'm saying that like that was something that was going around the rumor mill. I saw that on Twitter as well, where Boston's just like, yeah, there's no way we're going to be paying Grant Williams in the offseason. And so he was being looked at with this ridiculous. Like, do you really think Boston and the Nets are going to work something out? I absolutely do not see that happening.
Work something out in terms
with
of
Kevin Durant and Jaylen Brown. That just seems ridiculous.
No. Like, yeah, most rumors are fairly nonsensical. If Durant was to get traded, the team that would make most sense, I think, is the Phoenix Suns. But I don't think Durant is going to get traded. Okay. The Suns are the team that have the actual assets that I think the Nets would care about. And the Nets don't have to make a trade if they don't want to.
Yeah. Dude, this front court is going to get eviscerated by Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid, coming off of all-star starting snub, this is, if you wanted to buy into another narrative, if you want yesterday's LeBron narrative today that's not in the projections, Joel Embiid's pretty darn upset about the fact that he's not an all-star starter. Was very loud about that on Twitter and other places. If I had to believe that somebody was going to be a lover scorned, Joel Embiid is like at the top of the NBA list of somebody that I know just wants to say F you in basketball form.
The other thing, too, is I've seen this Philly fans. Daryl Morey also went on the radio. He's complaining about the media not voting Joel Embiid as a starter. The dumbest story ever, because you know who voted Joel Embiid as a starter? The media. The reason he isn't a starter is because the fans didn't vote him in. The fans voted in other players. The players voted Joel Embiid as a starter. The media voted Joel Embiid as a starter. The fans didn't because they just didn't. He's less popular with the fans. So it was the fans who didn't vote him in. So this whole thing of like,
he's my, I hate Philadelphia. I hate the city. I can't stand it. I can't stand the fans. I can't stand the fact that they have to grease poles in order to not burn their city down when they do good things playing sports. But like, Joel Embiid is awesome. Like, he has character, he has flair, and he's hilarious on Twitter, whether it's him or a PR. I don't care. He is flat out funny. And we don't have enough personality. So like, he's one of the guys that I just absolutely love in the NBA that I think gets a bad rap.
I love him as well. I also think he's hilarious. Some of the stuff that he was tweeting at, like indirectly to Ben Simmons in the offseason, I thought was really funny the last couple of years. The reason fans generally don't like him is because people just hate the majority of NBA fans do not like free throws, and he is absolutely a foul baiter. And that's why it's the flopping, the foul baiting.
Yeah,
that's the stuff that drives people
I
crazy.
can tell you one thing. I just updated my projections with a little boost, and I'm a Joel Embiid fan tonight. We'll throw that out there.
Ben Anthony left us a super chat, just said the media doesn't want us to know the Lakers lost. Yeah, that was kind of lost in the game yesterday that the Lakers didn't end up winning. They lost at home to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So yeah, that was Lakers are down bad right now. But let's talk about the Boston Celtics now. And do we even know what it is we like from this team? Or
no,
do we need
it's going to depend on the starting lineup. If Grant Williams doesn't start, he's out of play. If he starts, you could assume he could play a bajillion minutes. Luke Cornett. Oh, it's so gross. He's 3K on DK. I'm playing both DK and FanDuel today. Shout out me. But 4K for Grant Williams and Luke Cornett. Whoever starts between the two of them, awesome. What a lineup there. We got
Delon Wright starting for the Wizards. Yeah. We're going to get the Boston Celtics starting.
We'll get to that one here in a second, but let's round this out. I think there's a chance Blake Griffin just ends up showing up and playing basketball today. He played 13 minutes. It was a blowout spot, and then it wasn't a blowout spot against Detroit there. But we've seen a couple of times where he just kind of gets spot starts throughout the season. With both of them out there, I assume they need the size. Luke Cornett is a pencil, so probably don't want to have tons of him out there. Sam Hauser played awesome, but he just basically knocked down every shot that he looked at in that first quarter, played 31 minutes. He's all right, but he's 4K on FanDuel. That's a little bit more appealing to me to maybe take that shot at small forward only than 3,700 over on DK. And that's just assuming he starts, but like hard to really say we like anything from Boston until we see what that is. I'm not going to like anybody though to take shots on who isn't starting. Like it just wouldn't make sense on this slate.
And let's talk about the Wizards starting lineup. So nothing crazy in terms of the starters. Delon Wright is starting. It is Monty Morris who was ruled out. We knew that earlier. We just weren't sure who it was that was going to start. I think we were fairly confident it was going to be either Wright or Kendrick Nunn, and it is going to be Wright who gets the nod here. So now we have the starting lineup for Washington. Are you going to like getting to Delon Wright as the starting point guard?
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to. Do we assume like Kyle Anderson and Gobert are both small forward, power forward, center? So like those spots are pretty important to keep waiting there. But we talked about the D'Angelo Russell, Mike Conley thing. It's hard to believe that unless a trade gets done that they're both not actually playing. So like I'm okay using point guard spots a little bit earlier if the point guard makes sense, like Rubio makes sense. Delon Wright makes sense. 4,400 for him. You put him in for 30 minutes, you just get a boatload of him. So like that just happened, and oh my God, do I have a ton of him.
And then you'd mentioned Kendrick Nunn before. Is he somebody that you are willing to take shots on? I mean, he's still would be more of a DraftKings play than FanDuel just because of the difference in the minimum salaries. But 3,200 for Kendrick Nunn over on DraftKings, you don't have to give him very many minutes for him to look, somewhat decent.
Yeah, and you probably don't need to play him independent of Wright. Like, I don't need to have a group. I think they can share the floor together. I don't think that's a major problem. We saw Wright start alongside Trae Young in the past in Atlanta. Kendrick Nunn has started alongside other point guards in his previous day. Like, they can both play off the ball for whatever that matters in the NBA because, again, just floor spacing. But Kendrick Nunn, 3,200, it's a price thing. I assume he's not going to be popular in any way, shape, or form, and he can go out and get you a bucket. So 3,200. Hopefully he's got that lefty stroke going today. I'll definitely have a little bit.
Yeah, let's.
I guess he shoots both-handed, doesn't he? Is he one of those guys? I feel like I've watched.
Based on what I've seen, he can't shoot with either hand.
I feel like I've seen him shoot with both hands in my life, which is weird because I was like lefty stroke, and then I said it, and I was like, is he right-handed?
He's a lefty.
Okay,
He's not
that's what
good
I thought.
at it, but he shoots left-handed. Yeah.
There we go. Just it feels like one of those guys I've seen shoot both hands for whatever reason.
And we got some super chats came, and also shout out to Jorge. Jorge Jacomi gifted out some YouTube memberships. So thank you always for the support, Jorge. We always love you around. Jorge is also regularly in our Discord channel, and you always asking questions, particularly during baseball season. He also left us a super chat. What are the thoughts on having lineups with both Mobley and Allen in it, or would it be better to only have one of them? So my preference is to play more of Mobley today. I have him projected better, and then also just his better positionality. But I'm going to have lineups that have both of them.
Yes, I'm going to have both. I've landed on 3 Cleveland. I'm just going to play 3 Cleveland on everything, by the way, in case anybody gave a shit. Probably not.
No, I mean, I think it's relevant because that was what I was mentioning before, too, is I tried different builds, and you get to a certain point, too, where if you try to be too restricted with the amount of players you allow from the same lineup, it just really hurts what you have your lineups projected for.
Agreed. And like, I also did some perspective stuff where I was looking at what Minnesota would be. Like, I don't think people do this enough, and I probably don't do this enough from time to time, but like I always talk about late swap, but like change your projections and then swap and see what happens when certain things happen. Like for me, I'm preloading some Naz Reid in my life. 4,700. If Gobert gets ruled out, it's a back-to-back, which kind of like, regardless of him playing Utah, like nobody on Utah that he would really want to have revenge on. Like the team is completely different outside of Mike Conley, who's not even going to play there. Jordan Clarkson might not even be there. Like there's enough guys who could just be gone do you have revenge in your heart for a place that was pretty good to you? You had good days. And then, Donovan Mitchell, who's kind of the main adversary, doesn't even play there anymore. So like, I don't really give a shit about that. I'm just preloading Naz because he's a very good fantasy point per minute guy. With new Rudy Gobert out there. And now there's even the chance of him starting. If there's no Kyle Anderson starting alongside Gobert, I think that's good enough where I'm like, I will just preload that in and be set. And because he has the power forward eligibility, I'm finding it pretty easy to just like play another forward Mobley, play a center Allen, play LeVert, and just get to tons of those guys.
These shows go by so fast.
Dude, it's already 18 minutes. I feel like we just started 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, because it's just been reacting to some of the news. And but this is going to come in handy because I just finished running a crunch on FanDuel. Mr. CoolCam97 wants to know who are our top 5 favorite GPP plays for FanDuel purposes. One of them now is Wright, now that we just found out that he is going to be starting. He is $4,300 on FanDuel with point guard and shooting guard eligibility. Actually, currently my favorite play on the entire site. So Wright would definitely be one. Karis LeVert is another. And I still like getting to Evan Mobley a lot there. Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, another one that pops out quite a bit for me.
It's really hard to get away from them. I mean, I just have a ton of Wright. I still like Rubio a lot for tournaments. I'm mixing him in quite a bit as well. Well, shit, now his ownership has gone through the moon. I just updated that. Mobley, 7,200 was my favorite. He's still my favorite. Karis LeVert, we've got him projected nearly 70%. Doesn't matter. He's 4,800 and starting. You just play him. He's part of the fabric of that Cleveland team. He's not going anywhere. Yeah, you're going to play dudes in this first game. You just are.
And I want to check on something real quick, too, because we are sponsored by No House Advantage today. And Jordan, what's the overlay looking like there? Give us an overlay report. Is the contest full? Is it close to full?
It is currently 30% full.
Well, that's not very full at all. So, and what time does that lock, Jordan?
That locks at 7 p.m. Eastern.
7 p.m. Eastern time. So in 17 minutes, the NHA slate is going to lock, and it's only about a third of the way full right now. So, FanDuel, DraftKings, we're talking about it right now, but there's free money basically available over at No House Advantage. It's the easiest thing to take advantage of in DFS is when there is overlay. So if you guys haven't signed up at No House Advantage yet, some free money, not just based on the overlay, but also up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. And then also they have props you could play against the house that Eric and I are going to be talking about a little bit in the post-lock show, in addition to breaking through, going through any kind of breaking news, lineups, anything different than what we expect. We're going to be hitting on that in the last 30 minutes. But once again, if you haven't taken advantage of all the overlay at NHA, sign up right now. Use the link that we have below, and that is going to get you up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. So let's get back to, do you have anything else you want to add to Mr. Cool Cam in terms of favorite FanDuel plays?
So I'm playing the like one main lineup over there and everything. And for me, it's a lot of the same guys where Karis LeVert, Delon Wright are both fantastic, 5,100 and 4,300 respectively. I think what's interesting to me is like you get to Porzingis there at 9K, Bam Adebayo, power forward eligible over there at 8,700 as well. I am going to try to get away from some of those pieces. Like, so wild because like Miami, I feel like was the highlighted value team. And now we're not even like talking about them. Like we haven't said their name the entire time. Gabe Vincent's still on the table there at 4,300 on DK, where he has shooting guard eligibility there. But like the Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo plays are really, really good over on FanDuel. Kind of why you want to be playing both sites and getting exposure to multiple things. But like, I'm probably going to get away from more of that than I was anticipating on DK now. And so like FanDuel, I think I really do want to like prioritize some of those guys.
Yeah, and like I just said, like Jimmy Butler's still someone. It's funny because I have this beef with Jimmy Butler that he pretends to not know about by not responding to me on Twitter, but he's really just stalking me. I still end up playing him a lot in DFS though.
Rachel Nichols.
Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you, one day he's going to meet me in the ring, and it's going to go poorly for him. Some more super chats we have here. This is from Robert Cremacula, wants to know who are the top 5 cash plays for FanDuel. So just before mentioning Wright, I think Delon Wright is somebody you absolutely want to be playing in FanDuel cash games. Karis LeVert is another one, as is Jared Allen. So that would be 3. Gabe Vincent, I still think should be one because he's projected for massive ownership on FanDuel. And Ricky Rubio is really popular on FanDuel as well now. So that
Ricky.
Although actually I might be, I mean, I know I only said 5. I might be a little bit more apt to say Jimmy Butler instead of Rubio, just based on the amount of value we have at play and that Jimmy Butler is a great spend up option. But there's a lot of really good plays. I just gave you 6. So I gave you one more than you asked for. Next super chat, Corey Shea, top 3 large field GPP priorities. So for me right now, and I have to rerun one more. I think it is going to be also Corey Shea. I know he's asking for DraftKings, and for me on DK, I think it's going to be LeVert, Mobley, and then either Wright or Butler next in terms of just players I'm getting the most exposure to.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think about like tournament plays being like people that I have some leverage coming there. Do you think Keldon Johnson plays?
Yeah, he's been, because he was questionable the other day and he played also. They just seem to leave him as questionable on the injury report all the time now.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, it just said he's available to play. I must have missed that news.
Even more. Yes. Now I'm even more confident.
Yeah. I'm 100% positive that he plays basketball today. Just wanted to double check because that was one piece of news that I didn't see come across. So I was just looking for that specifically because I thought Josh Richardson and pretty much anybody who shoots a basketball was going to be in play for San Antonio to take a shot on. And plus it would come after lock. 12 minutes. We're going to have a ton of lineup spots eaten up by Cleveland, eaten up by Washington, specifically Delon Wright for me, a little bit of Denny Avdia, a little bit of Porzingis. So there's that. And now, yeah, I'm going to find my way onto a little bit of Gafford too at 5,400. I think that makes sense. They're not as appealing as they would have been if Beal had sat. And God, yeah, Bradley Beal just breaks my model every time. I got to get away from this. This is too much.
Brad Beal. I mean, the other thing too that I know that when you were just before talking about how Bradley Beal is somebody you always get to, maybe you feel a little bit better just from the standpoint that he hasn't played in almost a week, and maybe you could just lower his minutes a little bit.
But he came back from no man's land and played like 30-ish minutes his first game back. When was that? It was so frustrating. He played 29 minutes his first game, not playing for 2 weeks. And like, I can't remember if I had a proper, there was something that happened around that game because it wasn't DFS related. It was something else that I was just like, how the hell did he just automatically get there? And he's just stayed at that same minutes allotment for however long. So yeah, I'm not going to get to that much here. 32 feels like a hard cap on him. And that alone helps me get away from it.
Some more super chats that we have here. This one is from Steven Eckelman. Here we go. Steven wants to know, hey guys, got here, missed all the news today. Top DK plays at each position. And then also another Precious double-double, Eric, double question marks. Thanks. Number one, are you betting Precious for another double-double?
I didn't. And I saw the number when it was plus 240. If I had seen that earlier, I would have gotten there. It's now down to like plus 190. And I did some looking into it. And my big thing is that it seems like a hot hand approach with how good Chris Boucher's been playing. you would be up a lot of money if you had just randomly set like a week ago, I'm going to play 20% of Chris Boucher a night. He is 4,400 now, which makes it a little bit less appealing, but like he was sitting at 3,600 routinely. And what's happened is that you've had, for the first time in a long time, Achua start to get into some foul trouble. It makes sense because he was playing 35, 36 minutes a night. And now it seems like Boucher can come in, get hot, see the floor a little bit more, and it's basically a 1-for-1 swap. And it's just cut into those minutes so much that it's hard. The main reason I like that bet so much back against like Portland, Phoenix, I know he pulled it off both of those games, and then it's faded off the last couple. It's just a minutes thing, 25, 29, 31, and that's because of how good Boucher's been, even in the absence of OG Anunoby.
All right, we are going to have to go a little bit faster now because we've got 10 minutes left and we just got a ton of questions that came in. So the other part of this question that we got, and we could parlay these together, Steven Eckelman, and we got another super chat here from Big Boy I at about the same time. They want us to go position by position, just who our most rostered players are. So as of right now, if I'm going by each position at point guard, it is Poole and Wright for me. Shooting guard, LeVert and Poole. Small forward, well, small forward's pretty spread out for me right now. There is not a predominant small forward play, but guys like Gary Trent, Andrew Wiggins, I get to. I have a feeling there's going to be other players that I end up liking more later on in the day. Power forward, Mobley and Jimmy Butler, and then center, Mobley, and then like Jared Allen, Bam Adebayo, Daniel Gafford after that. But for you, just position by position, who are you getting the most exposure to?
I'm rerunning something here in the middle of it, but yeah, no, Delon Wright, Ricky Rubio at point guard, Karis LeVert, and Jordan Poole at shooting guard. Denny Avdia, Josh Richardson at small forward, and Chetty, they're same ownership there. Evan Mobley, Denny Avdia, Naz Reid at power forward and center. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and Naz Reid, and Joel Embiid. They're all right in that like Naz and Embiid both 25%.
And then the other part of Big Boy's question: will you play Norman Powell and Jordan Poole? Jordan Poole, absolutely. Norman Powell, I'm not really getting to.
I have 0, so no.
But Poole is a yes.
Yeah, the only guy that I have from the Clippers that isn't Kawhi and Paul George is Ivica Zubac. I have 4%.
Enzo Boza, it's Dame time. Points at wrist. Is it Dame time? Not for me, it isn't.
No.
I mean, there's not an issue with paying up for Dame. There's just so many good guard options for cheap today that I'm more apt to spend up at other positions.
Yeah, my favorite tournament play from that game is Andrew Wiggins. He's 6K, and you know, everybody just saw what Klay Thompson did, just went completely ballistic. But like, we've seen some nice minutes. 35. What was that on the first from Andrew Wiggins in competitive spots? That OKC game was not competitive in any way, shape, or form. But like, he's going to fill out the box score in some spots, and 6K for him, small forward eligible. Really, I don't think he's going to be anything over like 4 or 5% today. He's projected right around 6 for us today. Feel pretty good about Andrew Wiggins just kind of being somebody nobody's talking about.
And then Corey Shea said, my video is behind. Did you answer my question? Yes. If I remember correctly, your question was top 3 priorities for large field DraftKings tournaments. For me, it is LeVert, Mobley, and Butler. And there's also, it's LeVert and Butler 1 and 2, LeVert and Mobley 1 and 2 for me. But then there's a bunch of guys towards the top as well, like DeLon Wright, Jimmy Butler, Jordan Poole, Jared Allen, that I also really like a whole bunch that I get a bunch of exposure to. But so the top 2 is LeVert and Mobley, and then just those other guys and other players who I have like about a comparable amount of exposure to coming in after that. But for you, Eric, just to reiterate, because Corey was not listening before, his video was lagging. Who are your 3 most rostered players in large field tournaments?
My 3 most rostered in large field tournaments: LeVert, Mobley, Rubio.
Let's talk on the next question. This is from Ace of Spade. He wants to know Halliburton, Edwards, or Markkanen for DK tiers. So this is a spot where Edwards today, I think, could really benefit from D'Angelo Russell not playing.
Totally could. And that's a great perspective call. Yeah, I'd probably go that side of it. I'm on the over of 8.5 assists for Tyrese Halliburton pretty firmly. Minutes, assist rate, everything's come back to normal here. His first 3 games back, like everything we're seeing. I know it's a slower pace spot against Miami, but that's a prop that I really like across the industry today. But Anthony Edwards, yeah, if there's going to be no D'Angelo Russell, if that's a possibility, I project him for a little bit more already than Halliburton. So if you don't care about ownership, that's the better play.
Now we got a question here from Gangrene, Beal or Butler. I prefer Butler today. He's my guy.
Yeah. I just reran it. Now I'm getting Mobley, LeVert, and then Mobley. So now I fixed it the way I wanted to. I'm getting more Mobley. What were you saying?
He wanted to know Beal or Butler for tonight. I prefer Butler.
Butler, yeah.
And then the next question that we have, Jets World asked one about if the three-way trade happens, what will be the priorities for Rubio, Neto, Wright, Sexton, and Noel? That would still be tough because I don't know if McLaughlin plays or not. And that's also something that would impact us.
I will remember you.
And then also Rubio and Neto are about to lock. It's a tricky one, Jets World. I wish I had a better answer for you. For right now, though, Wright is the top priority of those guys. Rubio, Neto, Wright, Sexton, and Noel. Wright is the highest priority for me.
That is correct.
The next, Lippy saying he's not playing Sam Hauser. He's playing Orlando Robinson tonight. I don't want to tell him not to play Orlando Robinson after what happened the other time, but don't play Orlando
but don't
Robinson.
play Orlando. I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time. So enjoy the 40 burger for free.
Jets World, bigger priority for DK, Poole, Hero, or Butler. That is Butler for me. Poole's also a really strong option.
Poole, Hero, or Butler priority. I'm going to go Poole.
Yeah, Poole and Butler are two of my most rostered players.
Yeah, I've got over 40% of them. Got a lot. It's kind of weird because, again, if he didn't have shooting guard eligibility, this would be a tough slate. And luckily, we have it for him because, again, Karis LeVert has shooting guard. He's eating up a lot of that spot now, too, here. Oh, my God. What just happened? Alec Burks. I do not want him. There we go. That was an error.
The next question that we had in here, also from our guy Lippy, thoughts on Kelly Olynyk, and then also Şengün on DK. I know Kelly Olynyk is one of my more rostered players, but he's in my player pool. He's in less than 10% of the lineups I've built. He just hasn't performed nearly as well alongside Walker Kessler. The rebounds haven't been there at quite the same rate. The usage has been lower. The minutes have also been down. He's cheap enough where you could play him, but he's not a high priority play just because of how much worse his production has been alongside Walker Kessler.
Yep.
And Ernie P, who is my most rostered player, it is Karis LeVert.
Karis LeVert, yeah. You know what's really hard about FanDuel today is like Naz Reid is center only, and there's so many centers that have power forward eligibility. I have my big lineup. Oh, this is just awful. 5,500 Naz, whatever. YOLO. Let's go.
It's crazy that Naz had power forward eligibility for the longest time when he was only playing center. And now he's playing power forward and he only has center eligibility on
so FanDuel. Tilting. Yeah. Why am I playing FanDuel today? The world may never know.
Yeah, Sunflower wants to know why you're playing Naz Reid. Well, Rudy Gobert is questionable. It's the tail end of a back-to-back. He would look really good if
it would be the best play on the slate if he plays. So yeah, that's why. That would be the reason.
Gobert is questionable, and I know a lot of the times I've thought these Gobert injury designations are kind of nonsense, but it's a tail end of a back-to-back. It's a different
scenario. Yeah, and getting him to start for Gobert is a little bit different than him starting for Anderson, even though yesterday thought he was a fantastic play.
Yeah, so Rudy Gobert Gobert's been listed questionable every single game for a month now.
Yep.
Every single game for a month, Gobert's been listed as questionable. I thought it was nonsense for the longest time. Then he randomly gets ruled out February 1st against the Warriors, and they just got they actually won that game. But so he gets ruled out December or the February 1st game. Then once again, he's questionable the next 3 games, plays in all of them. Now it's the tail end of a back-to-back. So I think you potentially end up sitting.
Yep.
Super chat from Frankie Lofton, DK, Neto, and Porzingis or Wright and Butler. Nice cut. No, it isn't. That's a lie. Wright and Butler.
It's so good. I just love when you get trolled and not me because fuck you.
Now, but I think a lot of people genuinely mean it.
Just somebody else before said, we don't like you either, Eric, when I was bashing Philadelphia. Your city's trash. Shut up.
Do you have a quick answer for him here? Neto and Porzingis or Wright and Butler?
The second one, anything without Neto. I have 0% Neto today.
I have
0.
I have 10%. So in there, but not like any kind of real crazy significant exposure. That went really fast. We are about to approach lock here. Guys, don't go anywhere because I do think we still have news to come. Most notably, We are waiting on that starting lineup for the Boston Celtics. That game locks in 30 minutes. For the Celtics, Al Horford's out. Robert Williams is out. Other news we're waiting for. Eric had just mentioned before, he's trying to reserve some lineup spots for Naz Reid. Naz Reid is questionable.
Nasty pedo.
And then also, we've got the potential trade scenario, which I think that's very realistic, that D'Angelo Russell could potentially be in a trade for Mike Conley. Those two teams are playing each other. So if that trade goes down, the entire game, shit hits the fan because everything is flipped upside down. So that could go down the next 30 minutes. All the more reason to stick around for our post-lock show right here. And then also, we're going to have some tilting to do because there hasn't been a slate recently, Eric, where we've really had to tilt the first game. Like, how long has it been since we've had a lot of exposure to an opening game on a slate?
It's been a while. I feel like it's usually, we're not going to really do anything. But here's the thing. Whatever happens in the next 30 minutes, lose your mind. Just go out of your mind. Like, you just need everything's over immediately. If Karis LeVert doesn't come out and put up 15 in the first rotation, you're dead. If we don't have Ricky Rubio get into the game, people are going to tilt Ricky Rubio the second he checks in. Why do I have 0 from Ricky Rubio and he doesn't check in until the 3-minute mark? You got to lose your mind.
Yeah, and it's what's really important that I think a lot of people don't know about DFS is when the first game starts, whatever happens in the first 3 minutes of that game more or less decides the slate, whether you're profitable, whether you're not profitable. Absolutely lose your shit no matter what happens in the first couple minutes of the game. And I think that's pretty key. Starting lineup for the Miami Heat here: Gabe Vincent, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Caleb Martin, and Bam Adebayo. So Gabe Vincent.
Joel Embiid will play. Hello, my main lineup on DK.
Shocking.
That's party.
Shocking. So
just make it sure.
Gabe Vincent, I would have played a ton of Gabe Vincent earlier in the day. And then we just got all this other news that ended up coming out. And, points per dollar, I still think Gabe Vincent looks good, but he really fell by the wayside to me. Is he somebody that I should be trying to aggressively get more of on DK right now? I think on FanDuel, he's a little bit easier to get to. DraftKings, though, like I only have around 10% of him right now. Is that problematic now that he's confirmed starting?
Like, problematic that you don't have him?
That I don't have more of him. Like, there's
you should have more of him. I got 25%. I kind of like, it's one of those things where it's so hard to say, like, this is the right thing. Oh, I got 21% was the final number. Because I reran some stuff beforehand. But like, look at the front court. I don't know what the Celtics possibly do. Like, and it's such a weird thing to do because I just don't know how you put that into projections.
Heat Pacers.
Oh, Heat Pacers. What about
Gabe Vincent?
What about Gabe Vincent? He's fine. He's still like, he's just a dude. Like, that's the thing. Miami is a team that we just haven't talked about in any way, shape, or form. And it's because they were really, really appealing before. And then we got Cleveland. Then we got Washington. We could have more coming up later. And it's just a weird spot where it's like, is Gabe Vincent a must-have? He doesn't really feel like it. I think on FanDuel at 4,200, far more of a priority. I ended up playing him there in my main lineup alongside Rubio. But like on DK, he's just a dude. Like there's no reason to prioritize him.
And that's what I was saying too, is that earlier in the day, just to reiterate, if I was building lineups and entering them, because like when I built dummy lineups and just entered them into the contest that I'm playing on DraftKings today, Gabe Vincent I had a ton of. And then just as more news came out, players get ruled out. No Garland, no Donovan Mitchell. Then we get the news with Wright starting for the Washington Wizards. And obviously these pieces have already locked. I can't really change anything there. But my ownership, it was like with each piece of injury news that came out, I got less and less of Gabe Vincent. Now I feel like I'm going to be in this scenario where Gabe Vincent's going to go out and have like a big game. And I'm going to say like, well, here is my most rostered player early in the day who I didn't get any of. And something that I just feel like I can't do anything about it, especially because I do want to leave some lineup spots open just on the chance that we don't get that we get that trade in the Minnesota-Utah game.
But even still, like, the value is so good in this first window. Like, again, and that's my issue with Gabe Vincent. I'm with you there, but like, yeah, however much I get to, I'm going to get to here at this. I've built out enough lineups where I just have Nasty Nas and I'm just waiting for it. But like, I'll be able to swing a little bit of exposure to other things that happen later based on the news. But like the clear cut stuff, just locked, everything locked. So I'm not going to overthink it. I think that at this point, Gabe Vincent, it'll be okay if you're not completely overboard for it. That this is just another reason you should play multiple sites. Cause like Gabe Vincent, DraftKings.com, smash play. Or sorry, on FanDuel.com, smash play.
Those before also we had, I can't remember the name of it because we had a bunch of super chats that came in at the same time. Somebody asked us about best cash plays for FanDuel, and I'd said Gabe Vincent for FanDuel, but it would never be a cash game answer for me on DraftKings for this slate. But anyway, like I said, I've got around 10% of Gabe Vincent right now, and I simultaneously feel like I don't have enough and that I have too much because I want to be able to swap to other guys in later games when we get any of that news that could potentially be coming out about trades and other players that are listed as questionable, and Rudy Gobert being questionable, Kyle Anderson being questionable, Jordan McLaughlin questionable. That could be massive if we end up getting the D'Angelo Russell for Mike Conley swap.
What are you going to do with Grant Williams if he starts? He's 3,200.
Probably play him.
Just play a shit ton because
I
ran it with
him.
Okay.
But
we got the exact lineup you were expecting. Branham, Richardson, Keldon Johnson, Bates, and Pirtle for San Antonio. Can guarantee you somebody's going to be gone from San Antonio tomorrow. My guess is Pirtle, but we'll see.
So the thing about Grant Williams is, last playoffs aside, he is garbage as a fantasy producer.
It's true.
Grant Williams, and also, how many minutes would you realistically project him for if he starts?
Yeah, he was the bane of my existence during the entire NBA Finals and Eastern Conference Finals. That guy was just impossible to figure out what was happening. And it's more elevated when you're talking about fading a 50% Grant Williams in those scenarios. But like, yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like he's 3,200 small forward, power forward eligibility. It's difficult to imagine a scenario where I don't get to some, but like, yeah, what's the priority level there?
Yeah, so I would get to some, but I might have misspoke before. Okay. But I think your question was, or maybe I misheard. I thought you said, would you play all of the Grant Williams?
No, would you? No, my question was just like, would you play him, period?
Okay. Yeah, I would get to some exposure to him, but once again, like he wouldn't be like a lock type play, right? Because Grant Williams, here's minutes as a starter this year. 33 minutes per game, excellent. 21 fantasy points in those games as a starter. Like, he only scores like, 0.67 fantasy points per minute, something along those lines. So with that in mind, that he's not somebody who I would probably be like crazy high on. He would just be somebody who I have no interest in, to somebody who I would get exposure to.
Got it.
I have no expectation for the starting lineup for Boston. I think he's more likely to start than not, though.
Correct. I'm with you there.
So the Boston, so like what are we going to guess the starting lineup is? So we know three. We know White,
here's the
Jaylen
thing.
Brown, and Jason.
I think he starts, but like, I don't want that to be my guess. Like, I want my guess to be something fun. Like, I think it's going to be like well,
the lineup just
Brown. It just came in. So can I guess it? I'm not looking.
Yeah, you can guess. Now I think you're going to cheat.
Right.
But
well, no, I just think Grant Williams, like, in my brain, I think that he starts, but like, it would be a lot more fun if he doesn't. The only guy that we don't know is basically center. Like, you're going to get White, Brown, Tatum, Grant Williams, and then I'm going to go with Griffin.
It is Grant Williams and Blake Griffin in the front court.
There we go.
Which I guess we probably could have figured that out, because we've
That's
seen
what
Blake
I guessed
Griffin.
Before.
Yeah, we've seen Blake Griffin start a handful of games, and
At
Grant
least
Williams,
I don't have to play Hauser and Cornette now. That makes me happy.
Yeah, we don't. Sam, do not play Sam Hauser. Even Lippy, I know you're watching right now, Eric Johnson. Don't go play 100% Sam Hauser again. No, so please swap
What do you mean
off
cheated? I guessed Blake Griffin before. That was my exact guess that I made 30 minutes ago. How did I cheat about something that was my guess before?
The old Joey Corman trick.
Oh my God. I literally don't know what to do with Jordan Klein right now. You piss me off so much.
I'll tell you how you cheated. You got a notification to your phone and you just looked down, you saw it pop up, and then you're like, oh my God.
My phone is over here, by the way. So it is over here.
Oh my God. So far away that you were able to reach it with your arm.
And it goes blackout. Well, whatever.
Yeah. I can't reach my phone. It's all the way over here. You just picked it up, but it took you a second.
See, here's the thing though. That was my guess before, and I didn't change my mind about it. So how did I cheat on something that I guessed the starting lineup 30 minutes ago and got it right with Blake Griffin?
Because you saw the lineup and then you answered.
No, I just reminded myself what I was talking about, because it doesn't matter. I don't have to explain myself. This is bullshit. I literally gave the starting lineup earlier. I gave it again.
But You were about to
It's
change
not
your
like I
mind.
forgot a Morris brother or Ish Smith, Joey Corman.
Yeah, as if he's watching the show right now. But you did say you were going to not guess Grant Williams as a starter, and then you said Grant Williams. You said it wasn't fun enough.
Well, no, I said that he would be my guess, but like at the same time, I didn't like. I wanted to have something that was fun for the purposes of like just I don't know. I thought it'd be more fun to have Hauser slot in, but then you talk out the lineup and it wouldn't make any sense.
Well, let's see what Chad has to say. Jordan, can you put a poll up too? Just did Eric cheat? Right, because we know these are non-biased polls. This is the best way to get the information. It's just a way to see what the people think. Just sort of did Eric cheat? Some of the initial responses we got here, and then we'll talk about what we're going to be doing with the Boston Celtics. Butho Jenkins, get him at Jordan Klein, 100% cheated. And
Eric doesn't deserve this. I'm with you, Dope Heathen. This is bullshit. People are idiots.
Nick Holman,
Eric,
good point. How does he
section.
even know where his phone is? Right. If it's so far away, how did you even know where it was located?
Well, it's like a reach over to the corner here because I have Twitter in the top right corner of my screen, and that's whenever a number shows up in the top right corner, that's when I click over to see what the lineup is.
It's just what are you, the king of reachovers? Like, oh no, like we're not all as expertise. We don't all have the expertise you do in this category, Eric. You cheated, Eric, from Sotax. I also like, by the way, we're doing this and we also get super chats to come up with legitimate basketball questions. But Darren Anderson, only cheaters get defensive, Eric. That is a good point.
Jordan Klein, not the moment, not the time, not the time.
The initial poll results are pretty damning. 75% Eric cheated to 25% no. People have spoken here. We got a super chat as well. Super chat
Send
here.
Eric to Philly. Yeah, no, I will get eaten alive by the Wolves like I did when I went to the Eagles-Vikings game with an Adrian Peterson jersey on and got hit with an ice snowball. Oopsie.
I saw on Twitter when it was working earlier in the day, somebody put out that if you didn't live the rest of your life in Philly or Kansas City, you had to go to prison, what would you choose? And
Kansas City, not close.
Well, somebody responded prison, which I thought was really funny.
Honestly, so Josh Harris, the hockey guy that we have here, you do MMA shows with him now. Mm-hmm. He had a take that he posted on Twitter where he was just like, if you told me that I could spend the rest of my life in New Jersey or what was it? It was like New Jersey or Philadelphia or something. He goes, I'll just take option C. I don't care what it is. Just give me that.
And here,
that's a good take.
Lives in New Jersey. He already lives in New Jersey. Yeah, he lives fairly close.
There was something else. They're taking a turnpike to somewhere. I can't remember exactly, but I heard Philadelphia was one of the two. And I was like, I have never related to somebody more. That city sucks.
Yeah, so we've got Philly, though. It's like Aton's there. I don't know anybody from Kansas City.
Yeah, I like my coworkers from there. There's no doubt about that, but they live in a cesspool of sadness and broken dreams.
I don't know. I want to live in a place where somebody was not all that long ago arrested for vomiting on a child at a baseball game, which happened at a Philly game. There was a guy who put his fingers down his throat and just forced himself to throw up on like an 8-year-old girl that was sitting underneath him. But I also feel like that's kind of what the people are like there.
That is exactly what they're like. Again, they had to grease polls after an NFC championship game, not even a Super Bowl win, an NFC championship game. People were ready to burn down the city. What is wrong with you? You don't react to winning championships by burning things down. That makes no sense to me. It never will. Not that I will ever know as a Minnesota sports fan.
So our itinerary for the next 15 minutes or so, these are the things we're going to walk through. We've got our super chat from our gravy. Then we're going to talk about what we're going to be doing with Grant Williams and the Boston Celtics. And then we're going to look at NBA Bet Pro, and we're going to look at some of our favorite props of the night for the NHA bets against the house. So those are the things that we've got queued up coming. First, our gravy, best DK play still available for 3,400 or less.
Still available for 3,400 or less. It could end up being Grant Williams at this point in time. I'm assuming that's what it probably projects out to be. Do I want that? I don't think oh God, this is disturbing because now I got to figure it out. Why is Eric aggro every show? If you never tuned in before, this is what I do. It's my bit. I'm going to say Grant Williams. I don't like it.
So
I don't want it.
The price point was 3,400 or less. I have to take the first couple games out of here, obviously. So no Cleveland, no Detroit, no Washington, no Charlotte. It, for me, ends up being Grant Williams. That's the
There you
dude.
go. He is that guy, pal. He's that guy.
I mean, he's not really, but he is.
Yeah, it sucks. It's just I don't want to play him. I don't want to do it.
But are you going to? Because I'm about to rerun my lineups now that we know that he's starting.
Nervous. I'm nervous about what's going to happen. Here's he's 3,200. I mean, for me, he's not going to be the reason you win anything. I find it very difficult to believe that we want to get to like any major amount. God, he is just popping.
What about Blake Griffin as an option? That's going to be
0%. That's a no for me, dog.
All right, rerunning lineups. See what we end up getting to, and then I'll be able to update the people. As for our projections, let's see where we have Grant Williams projected now. Grant Williams, now that he's confirmed in the starting lineup, I've got the page refreshing here.
Every time the Boom Bust tool updates, something else breaks, and then we just refresh it all over again.
There's news on top of news on top of news on top of news. It never ends. So Grant Williams, that is not how you spell Grant. I can't.
Yeah, he's
Grant
got some major negative leverage. We're talking lots of negative leverage. I don't
Grant
want
Williams projected right around 20 fantasy points. Totally reasonable. I have him at 21 right now. And let's see where I end up getting to him now when I rerun. I assume I'm going to get to some of him.
I got to 12%. I don't even think I want to play him though. Oh, this is just
by the
awful.
way, we should also talk about him as far as FanDuel goes. He is 4,000 on FanDuel. I do not have interest in him at 4,000 on FanDuel.
No.
Grant Williams. Yeah, I'm going to be getting to some Grant Williams lineups. He's not going to be. He's not like in my single entry lineup or anything like that. Right? He's not in my highest projected lineups, but and then also we got Ernie P. Here's Ernie P's input from Discord. Here's what Ernie P has to say. Grant Williams is projected for 25% ownership. Fuck that. So that's Ernie P. That's Ernie P's take right here.
Oh, that's good. That's
good. And then also put this I'm about to send you a picture, Jordan. You're going to like this one, Eric.
Oh, Jared Allen, just talk to me. Talk to me, daddy. Talk to me. Just tell me how good I am. Let's go. Jared Allen.
That's going to go really well with the picture that I'm about to send to Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So this is Jordan. This picture, this is when.
Yeah, I was gonna say he can't have that kind of
no. I slacked
paraphernalia on his phone.
I did. I slacked it. This is I don't even know when this was screenshotted from, but somebody sent this to me in Discord. But this is Eric when Jared Allen has a solid start to the game. Throw it on the screen, Jordan.
Waiting.
Still not up. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that was me before. I was upset. I mean, you were just talking, and then you made fun of me, and you're a dick, and I hate my life. I want to quit. I never want to have to deal with you ever again. You text me, you try to be friendly, but then you just make fun of me in front of people, in front of thousands of people all the time. You try to be nice to me, swoon me, you wine and dine me, you treat me nice, you give me good things, but then you just don't even care. You don't even care. You won't go out in public with me.
No, I won the DK Valentine's Day award giveaway, and I'm not going to be going with you. I will be going with the girl that I'm dating as opposed to Eric, which I know you're a little broken up about. And I almost fucked that up royally because I tried to make a joke about me not taking you as my date. So and
then you posted the codes like an
without
idiot.
realizing that I posted all of my gift card codes on
What
Twitter.
An idiot!
Anybody could have taken.
What a loser!
Anyway, there we go. We got Eric. I think if Chris Karen is watching, this is our new BetMGM code.
Karen's one right watching. Here.
Yeah, if Chris is watching, this is gonna be for the new BetMGM graphic, because this is the new Eric face. By the way, if you guys want to sign up at BetMGM, a couple reasons too. The main reason, you're going to get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum when you sign up, but also you're going to get a bonus bet of up to $1,000 if your first bet doesn't win. So go check out BetMGM. And also, we've got our great tools over in NBA Bet Pro. What now?
Jordan
You in
Klein.
the face again?
I'm just getting trolled. You guys really don't like me. Chat's
No, they
turned
do.
against me. They think I'm a liar. I can't, honestly.
Well, you
I
are.
literally said the lineup 30 minutes ago that ended up being the lineup. I just had to think through what it was. I got both of them? You had to post both of them.
69%. The audience has spoken. We got over 400 votes. Of the 400 people that voted, 69% of them think you're a cheater. It's okay. It means 31% of them think you aren't. 31% of people, I mean, they're wrong, but 31% of people don't think that you're
Eric Lindquist, the Patrick Reed of DFS. No, because Patrick Reed is a piece of shit. And don't ever, like, I won't be offended by much, but if you ever call me Patrick Reed, I will literally, I mean, I just hate that guy. He's such a twat.
Yeah, just don't call me Eric. People call me that sometimes, and that's what gets me upset. Like, to me, being called Eric is the equivalent of you getting called Patrick Reed.
Getting called Adam.
Oh, well, you mean Aaron?
Aaron. Let's go. Let it rip.
I don't know who Adam is. Yeah, our new producer thought Adam's name was Aaron, and I will think that is funny. Yeah. However,
you confused me with somebody who actually works. It's weird.
No, I think I think the other thing is he was just so unfamiliar with who Adam is. He's like, I've never seen this guy before. He's like, it must be Aaron. And there's just some confusion, but he's been told that is absolutely what he should call him going forward.
Patrick Reed stole his teammates' laptops in college. Is that true? I heard he cheated when he was in college. He went to Augusta State and they won a national title, like 2 national titles, I think, when he was at school. But like, he got kicked off of the Georgia team for something. So maybe that's what it was.
And we got a super chat here from Big Boy I. He wants to know Neesmith, Grant Williams, or Reggie Bullock. It's Grant Williams of those 3.
Yeah, it is.
Grant Williams, Neesmith, or Bullock.
I'm just trying to decide, do I want him to even be somewhat remotely close to a lineup? That FanDuel lineup of mine, I don't think I do.
Export my lineups. Upload them here because I don't know if I put in my last set or not.
What was that?
Thank you for burping in our ears, Jordan.
Jesus Christ. The people didn't hear that, did they?
Jordan just
Dude, bro, chill. My
Jordan
God.
Definitely just
smelled that over here.
A little bit. Yeah, he definitely threw up in his mouth a little bit from that. Good to know. Good to know.
My God, please hit eject on this show.
Let's pull up the NBA Bet Pro, Jordan, because we're going to be talking through that. And before I mention that, if you guys are signing up at BetMGM, you're going to get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, but also a bonus bet of up to $1,000 if your first bet is not a winner over at BetMGM. And here's something that I think could really help you at BetMGM, or also NHA, who's sponsoring our show today, is BetPro, our new NBA prop betting tool that you guys can get 1 week free access to by clicking on the link below. No risk to you at all. Check it out. Look at all of the different projections we have for all of the different props across every single book you could think of. And this is going to be the easiest way for you to find some value. And Eric, we're going to be looking at some of the NHA props right now. And what is it that stands out to you here? Because if you look at NHA, do you have it pulled up yet, by the way?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Is there anything at the top of the board here that really stands out to you as being a good prop number over at NHA?
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten a lot more efficient as they've gone along for this entire NBA season, pretty much over at NHA. Let's take a look here. I just refreshed it again, so it took a second there. I mean, the Joel Embiid under 11.5 rebounds. I'm not going to do that, and I get that projects out pretty well. I'm just looking at that interior. It got exponentially more interesting to target Boston. I like a lot of these. A couple of these unders stand out. I think the Paul George rebounds one is okay. Nothing great. Draymond Green, 8.5. It's a pretty large rebound number. I'm not seeing anything that just like jumps out to me there, though. I mean, that's where, like, again, this is for the versus the house, right? Or is this for the contest? Because the contest just closed, right?
Yeah. This is for the versus the house.
Okay, good. Versus the house. But yeah, it looks like a couple of unders. One of my favorite things, I've talked about this so many times now on shows. Same thing applies at other sites too. But like looking for the correlation on some of the unders, like Draymond Green and Klay Thompson from that Golden State Portland game makes sense. And you have Damian Lillard up the board. Put those three together. Find some mini correlation spots where, if they all project out pretty well, like that's a way that you can get things to work out well for you, especially because they're different assist categories. It's just basically saying, like, I expected when I looked at Portland and Golden State last night, I expected to see like a 240 total because that's what you're kind of used to when these two teams play. It's down to 234.5 when it opened. I mean, that's what it opened at basically. And that's just not as enthusiastic as I expected to be on the game environment itself. Do I like Jordan Poole as a DFS play? Absolutely. He is way too cheap. It makes no sense that he's 7,100 on DK today. But for the most part, very, very, very difficult for me to not parlay the same kind of pieces, combine a lot of the same pieces together when the unders already project out well and have that be my card.
Yeah, and one thing I'm going to go right back to the Damian Lillard under 4. If I remember correctly, he was one of the prop plays we liked under 4.5 threes the last time we did an NHA show, was it not?
Mm-hmm. It's routinely been way up there.
Which, by the way, he has been absurd, just on an absolute heater over the last, 3
and you never walk away
now.
From the table when you're on a heater.
But his props have gone up so high now. So we've now got Damian Lillard over under 4.5 threes. He averages 4.1 for the season, and still over the last 2 weeks, 3.7 threes per game. You just can't reliably expect him to hit 5 threes per game. And we have him with a really, really hefty 3-point projection. We have him for 4.1. Well, that's quite a bit lower than 4.5. So even with him being projected to make 4.13 today, we have the under winning 61% of the time. That is our number one prop against the house over for NHA, and I could definitely back that. So Damian Lillard under 4.5 threes. I like that one. Are there any injury scenarios? I just want to scroll through these players. I answered most of them already. There's one more right here from Jake Lewis. Jake Lewis said, Greg is the alpha. Y'all have an adorable will they or won't they relationship like Sam and Diane. Totes adorbs.
Will they or won't they what? Me leave? Like just walk away from the table? Like what are we referring to? Because yeah, I get that.
Sean. Yeah, let me pull it up and see. Okay. Yeah, this is correct. I didn't answer this one. Sean Sullivan, Nas Reed, or Grant Williams on DK. Ooh, that's a tricky one. I'm going to say Nas Reed.
Yeah, I love Nas Reed. I'm preloading more right now in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah, Nas Reed for me right now.
Especially holy mother of God, look at Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Let's go, gentlemen.
By the way, the other thing, too, when we're talking about Nas Reed versus Grant Williams, is when you're talking about DraftKings, I mean, there's a massive salary difference between them.
Mm-hmm.
Nas Reed is $4,700. You're looking at a $1,500 price gap. If you have the salary, go to Nas Reed. And then if anything else, like let's say that Gobert starts and Nas Reed comes off the bench, just use that $4,700 on somebody else. That's what I'm doing, that $4,700. Go with Nas Reed for now.
Yep, agreed.
Let me just make sure we didn't miss anything else. Nope, we have got all of those. So, guys, this is everything you're going to want to be on the alert for the rest of the day, because Eric and I are going to be wrapping up here. Quick show. So a lot of injuries, a lot of stuff came through. Thank you guys very much for watching and supporting us. So if you haven't done it yet, like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. But Rudy Gobert is questionable.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle Anderson is questionable. Jordan McLaughlin is questionable. In addition to that, got the potential Minnesota and Utah trade that could be going down. And here's something else. Even if the trade isn't official, if a starting lineup comes out that doesn't have D'Angelo Russell or doesn't have Mike Conley, they are not playing today.
Yep.
Even if they're not ruled out. If the
zero.
starting lineup comes out and they're not in it, just assume those guys are not playing.
Yep.
So that is what I think you guys should definitely be aware of. As for also Discord, we got some late questions that came in here. We will wrap up by answering this. Hippo, what do you and Eric think about Tatum? I did not really get to Tatum today.
I got to a little bit. Nothing crazy, but again, I am preloading a little bit extra value with Nas into more lineups, and as a result, I'm getting to Tatum just because of what that raw point ceiling is. Him and Embiid, I think, are just under-owned studs at the top. I like them because of positionality more than I like Damian Lillard and LaMelo, because I just played Rubio, Wright, and LeVert at guard spots quite a bit. So yeah, Embiid and Tatum by default there.
And then the other question we have here to wrap up with is Tall Tale wants to know, Should I go Nas and Dame or Butler and Hero? I prefer Butler and Hero.
Butler and Hero.
That is going to do it for us today. And then some Eric is not the new face of DA24. I can read this on the show. This is a very mean comment towards Eric. I would never say on the show that Eric should be the new face of erectile dysfunction. I would never say that on the show. Don't send me those kind of messages in Discord. Never. Eric is not the new face of erectile dysfunction. He's the existing face. That's going to do it for us today, guys. If you haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow night. Good luck.